Types of families. We have been in business.
Here we are. We're all back together again. Paul Catalina is back from his trip to Lawrence, Kansas. Craig Smoak here with me again the last couple of days. And also today, Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, all a part of what we have. And we've got guests today that will be about college basketball at Arizona. And also a look at the NFL Combine that's going on. And we'll also discuss KU basketball with Matt Tate from Wave the Wheat, one of the neat names of the websites. A lot to get to. We also, later in the show, will have a list of kind of a list from Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network on his top 50 prospects. Not all of them, not every bio, but just some names that will show a little bit later in the show. Here are a couple, and welcome back, Paul. Thank you very much for
I'm
coming
glad
back. Nice to have you for a half a week.
I'm glad to be back. It was fun to be there. Allen Fieldhouse is the absolute best basketball venue you can go to. I have not been to Cameron Indoor, and I would think that might be kind of the only one given the history and the nature of the building that kind of compares.
I think Scott Van Pelt kind of already addressed this.
1-to-1. So
Scott Van Pelt already addressed this, unless y'all missed the big to-do about him making a comment a couple of weeks ago about how Allen Fieldhouse is the best arena. It was like a week ago, actually, but it's like twice the size of Cameron Indoor, and then a bunch of Duke fans got in their feelings about it because they felt like he called their wee 2 inches long or something because he said that they were smaller, which if you look at the sizes of the arenas was nothing but facts. And so, yeah, he made a comment about that and got people riled up. But what doesn't get people riled up nowadays?
Yeah, exactly. But it's an absolutely fantastic venue. I got to watch two coaches that are the best at what they do. And there's not many coaches you can compare. Like if you were going to say, okay, which coach is as good as Kelvin Sampson? You'd say, well, Bill Self is definitely as good as Kelvin Sampson. Which coach is as good as Bill Self? You would say maybe Kelvin Sampson. And Houston has been the most consistent team for the last 7-8 years of college basketball. And they're on their first 3-game losing streak since 2017.
Right.
That is absolutely ridiculous what they've been able to do. And they're just got a team that's a little bit of a different mix than they've had in the past. And I think what happened the other night is you saw Darren Peterson play an entire game in and out of the lineup and not have his best game, and Kansas find a way to win that game in pretty dominating fashion once they got the lead. And they did it, and this is a lesson for everybody out there. Youth coaches on. If you're not shooting well early, if you haven't found yourself, or you know this team's going to be tough defensively, because I don't think anybody switches defenders better than Kelvin Sampson in Houston. Bill Self had a great plan of, we're not going to shoot our way out of this, like get desperate shots up. They made their free throws. They got Houston in foul trouble. And then when they finally found their sea legs shooting the ball, that's when they took over and won the game.
Yeah, they surged at the end of the first half, took the lead, and then they at times, they were dominating that game, ended up with a good win. Speaking of that, here are 8 teams. This is from Evan Miyakawa, our good friend, Evan, MIYA.com. These are 8 teams that might win the whole damn thing, and they also might be out in the first weekend. Brandon, can we expand that, or is that we want to keep it right there? I know we got that little nugget now. That's Ryan Hammer, by the way, a great basketball analyst, will join us. I think it'll be Friday or Monday. Just got finished trading some text with him. Illinois, Purdue, Iowa State, Gonzaga, Kansas, Nebraska, Arkansas, and Wisconsin, all of them with the momentum and what they have, consistency. They could all go deep, maybe Final Four deep, and they also could be done by the first weekend.
Well, they all are similar in that they've got super stud players that might be a little bit streaky, but they all have deep lineups that can win in spite of that. But it's just going to depend on the seeding and the matchups for all these teams and who they get. Because and Smokey, you've seen it. We've seen it with Baylor, especially covered them a couple times, where they went out in the first round. And if you go back and use the time machine to look, and if you could go back and tell the committee, look, the worst matchup for this 3 seed is this 14 seed, that would have been the ones that they got because of the one thing that they did.
I don't think there's any doubt that they set that up because of the
Yeah.
intrigue of maybe oil and water.
Yeah,
was the
exactly. And
matchup.
so they do those things, but if you're Baylor, you could have been please, just don't give us Georgia State. We can withstand a lot of things. We can't withstand 2 good minutes from R.J. Hunter. Those kind of things, and that's the same kind of thing that could happen to any single one of these teams here, where they can withstand almost everything except the one team that a team like Belmont might do well.
Yep. So those are the 8 teams. Craig, your thoughts?
Don't have many, honestly. I think, those are teams that have a good shot to go one way or the other. Like everybody else, really. The top seeds are going to be in matchups that you feel like are pretty much guarantees. But, it's March Madness, so there's a lot of teams that you feel great about. There's some that at their best can be really good and some that are a little bit wobbly. And, I think Ryan, it puts together a good list of teams that, take your pick on which direction they may be going at any given moment. But, I don't have a lot. I can't really see it too well. But, there's a lot of stats floating around right now when it comes to basketball and people trying to figure out how this tournament's going to go. And I think we're in store for a really great March. I mean, we typically always are. But it does seem like there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that all look like they're capable of making deep runs. But then – as we saw last night, BYU could turn around and get their ass whooped by UCF. Now UCF's a really good team. So maybe UCF's just bound to go win a game or two themselves in the tournament. But, I think there's a lot of teams that have very high ceilings, but they're also not bulletproof by any stretch of the imagination. So this ought to be a lot of fireworks coming up here in the next few weeks.
Some of the teams that Evan has very highly ranked in something we showed yesterday, the efficiency landscape, the predicted efficiency landscape, that are not on this list because he feels like they're not going to be out the first weekend. They're going to go deep. Doesn't mean they can't get upset. Michigan, Duke, Florida, those are teams. Also, he has Arizona and Houston, even with Houston on that 3-game losing streak, a part of that list that should be fine and will go at least through the first weekend and still could get to the Final Four.
I don't know, like when I mentioned Houston on the 3-game winning streak, I don't know this to compare to their last couple of years in the Big 12.
You mean losing streak, right?
Losing streak. I don't know how many times that they've had a run through the schedule like this of these 3 teams back to back to back, though, that they've lost to. Like, of the teams ranked this well, they weren't losing 3 games in a row at all. But I don't know if also, like, when you look at it, have they played these 3 teams like this that are this good all in a row? Probably not. The one thing that Houston doesn't do is they don't lose to teams they shouldn't lose to. I mean, all these 3 losses are teams where you're like, well, I mean, if you're going to lose to a team, lose to those. But this is not like Houston lost to Colorado and Arizona State and Baylor.
I disagree for only this, not to disagree like, oh, my God. It's Kelvin Sampson said something today during a press conference that last year's team was put together in an oven. It was baked in an oven. You had a 5th-year senior in L.J. Cryer. You had a 6th-year senior and another 5th-year senior. This team is not like that. This is a different team. That team last year, maybe they do weather a schedule of those 3 teams in a row because they were that deep, experienced. This team doesn't seem to be as deep, and they surely don't have some of the guys that have been playing so long and experienced that they had last year.
Yeah, but I think to Paul's point, you're on a 3-game losing streak. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. If ever, really, for Kelvin Sampson, you're having to go back to, 2017 is the last time? Was that the number? There's so many
9 years
stats
ago
flowing around that I kind of get it mixed up. But, so it's been a while. But, it was not 3 losses. This is the exact example I said yesterday. I said, well, it's not like they lost to Colorado, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. They lost to number 6, number 4, and number 14. Every single one of those teams could go at least play for a national title at their best. And I think there's something to that. Now, I don't think they're as good as last year's team. I'm not going to be surprised if they don't make it to the national championship game or if they fall a couple rounds short of that. I don't think that would be shocking at all. But if there is a saving grace in your losing streak, trying to make lemonade out of lemons, it's okay, we lost to 3 teams with a combined ranking that would be just outside the top 25 if you added all of their rankings together. Mm-hmm. So that's how highly ranked these all are. But, it's still losses. It's also – that starts to float, if you're not careful, over into loser talk, where it's like excusing your losses and making them, well, it's not that bad because it's this and that. So you got to be careful of that. I think that it's a little bit of both. I think they're wobbly, and I think there's areas where they're not as good, and there's areas where they're not good right now. And I also think they're playing really good teams back to back to back, but they're about to go on a run where they don't play a single team of that caliber for the rest of the year. So they should be 3-0 to close out the year. And if they're not 3-0, if they don't beat Colorado and Baylor at home and they don't beat Oklahoma State and Stillwater, then, I think you start sounding some alarms and go, okay, wait a second. Now, that's 4 out of your last 6 that you lost. And 3 of these things, well, one of them's not like the other because those 3 teams are ranked, Colorado or Baylor or Oklahoma State. If it's a buzzer beater, we're getting too far down the road here. But, Houston's in a weird spot where they're really good. They're not as good as they were, and they're reeling a little bit. So let's see how they recover from it.
Last year there was a stretch where they beat 13, 8, and 10. with one game against Arizona State on the road in between. So they did win that. And, of course, in the tournament, which was, again, a seasoned, experienced team, they beat back-to-back, 8-4, 2-1 of the 4, losing that game at the end to Florida. Current Ken Pom. Now, this is about quadrants and all this other stuff. How many wins? The top 4 teams in the country, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and Illinois, all of them have general managers to construct their roster. Not everybody does, but those 4 teams have general managers, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Illinois. That's, of course, the new trend. Football, it seemed like, started it, and then basketball now, you see that happening quite a bit, too.
Everybody's about to have one, I would say, in the next couple of years. If you don't, it's probably a budgeting issue at this point, right? Because everyone else is doing it.
Control issue.
Maybe,
you just don't want to do it. Yeah.
Control, but budgeting or control.
Yeah.
And, if you're a coach who thinks you can get by with that one, and you can, great, good for you. Look, there's NFL franchises that have gotten by without one for their entire ownership run. They haven't really had one, only kind of a name only.
Well, I think
you could see, but I think that most of them will have one eventually.
I mean, I think it's something that's just trendy to do now. I think it makes sense to get some stuff off your plate. I don't think it makes everybody equal, though. I don't think that there were just like 100 GMs in waiting that were all really good at their job. So, I mean, I think there's still, like with a head coach or a starting quarterback, there's levels to it. And just because you have one doesn't mean that guy's necessarily great, right? So I think those who haven't dipped into that pool, maybe they haven't found the right person. They're not just like, let's just hire a guy to fill a position, and they're waiting to find that right person, or maybe it's control. Maybe it's a financial thing for some of the smaller schools, but it is the trendy thing to do. It is the logical thing to do with so many moving parts that you're having to deal with as a head coach now, in football and basketball especially. So, I mean, that sounds like a great PR tweet for the agency that hires guys for those positions is what that sounds like. I don't know that there's really any correlation to you have a guy leading that department and now you're one of the best teams in America. I think there's probably something to it, but I don't think it's a given that, since you have one, that means anything other than you have a guy. And then there are, like I said, with head coaches or starting quarterbacks or whoever, there are levels to it and guys that are better at it than there are others. But I'd be curious to know for those that don't, what is the reasoning as to why? And I'm sure it's a little bit of a mix of what we talked about. But if you've got a good one and you've got the right people behind it, then, it is a huge difference maker for you. I think you see that out in Lubbock right now with Texas Tech and how they kind of were at the forefront of forming a lot of that. And they have some people who have figured it out faster than others have figured it out. And they also have blank checks that also help. So there's no worry whatsoever about the financial aspect of it. So that makes your shopping a little bit easier when you're going, instead of like, can I get this and this? You're just going, I'll take it all. And so there's levels to that as well, the backing that you have. So it all matters. But I think if you've got a good GM, then you're probably a leg up on teams that don't.
Yeah, and some guys are leaving the NBA to become GMs in college, and we've seen that crossover, of course, in football too.
Well, it's almost the same thing now with free agency and
that's why
recruiting. So it's free agency and a draft. So the draft's a little bit different. And the NBA draft, I get the feeling, is about to change in some kind of substantial way. Given that. So there's going to be a proving ground of like, okay, here's how I can balance a budget. Here's how I can prove that I can find, hey, look, this team is really good. They spent a whole bunch of money last year. The boosters want me to maybe find some diamonds in the rough, and I proved I can do that too and get us back in a deep run in the NCAA tournament without necessarily having 3 first-round draft picks on this roster. Those are the kind of things you need to do in the NBA because some years you're in salary cap. The NBA salary cap to me is kind of voodoo, but sometimes you have those issues where
in football
where
too.
You have to like just let things go and like, all right, well, this guy's going to get traded and we're going to do this and we're going to buy back this contract and then cut this guy. We want to stay consistent. We know maybe we're not going to win the title, but that's a key thing.
The Arizona Wildcats, number 2 ranked team in the country, up 2 games in the Big 12 standings. They still lead by 2 games as they were in Waco last night, fell behind by 10. Baylor probably playing one of their better games of the year, but they couldn't hold on. And a couple of key possessions down the stretch, a missed free throw, an offensive rebound, and a 3 for Arizona. A couple of other possessions when they had a bunch of offensive rebounds, and they beat Baylor 87-80. and Baylor drops back to 500. And Arizona, their broadcast voice, Brian Jefferies, will join us here in about 25 or 30 minutes.
That was I think it was a pretty devastating loss by Baylor for the teams that are trying to win the regular season crown. Because
Houston, Tech, Iowa State, KU.
Yeah. So if you were hoping, like, look, we just need and they all still have a chance. They all still have a chance right now. Well, not all, but like several of them still have a chance. But now you really need Arizona to fall on their face twice and not just once. This was the opportunity of, man, that Arizona looked just really discombobulated and injured and banged up in that first half, and you're thinking, okay, if this is the half, if you're Iowa State and you're watching this and you're going, like, you know what, if this is the half that can span into a whole game and they won't have this, and then they're going to be looking back going, damn, we shouldn't have lost to Baylor, and then we lost in the weekend. But then guess what happens? Arizona.
There's 3 games left, Paul.
Yeah.
And 4 teams are 2 games behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them will play Kansas, or Arizona, including Kansas this weekend, but the math eventually doesn't probably math.
The only, I think everybody's only hope to win the Big 12 regular season crown is if Kansas beats them this weekend. After that, I think it's all over with the shouting.
I mean, they have Kansas and Iowa State back-to-back.
Yeah.
So there's a strong enough chance that they could lose both of those games. Now they're both in Tucson, so it's unlikely that they would lose both of those games. And this is a team who we thought was probably going to lose to Houston earlier this week, and they turn around and go beat Houston in Houston. So, yeah, Arizona's in the driver's seat, and they've deservedly put themselves in that position. I'm sure there were a lot of people rooting for Baylor last night. Probably more than's rooted for them in any game this entire year, I would think. It's the most attention they've certainly gotten outside of the controversial move to add a player midseason. This is the most talk about them, at least for a span of a few hours. So, a nice effort. I mean, Cameron Carr is a lot of fun to watch. He's really a guy that you hope they have as a centerpiece next year, and he doesn't randomly decide to transfer to BYU right before the season starts or something like that. I mean, sorry to pull a scab off, but the Rob Wright thing threw them for a total freaking loop, and it did, and there's no denying that. And so I think for them, if they can get Cameron Carr back, and among other moves, and y'all can talk about whatever else you think they should do, but I mean, that's an obvious starting point. And then I have to mention, hold on to him throughout the entire offseason, because Rob Wright also came back until he didn't. Hold on to him. Then I think that's a nice – it's like DJ Lagway for the football team. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to be great, but it's at least something to anchor around. It's at least something to give you some excitement about. So, yeah, that young man's a really talented player. They got some other guys as well. But a nice effort, all things considered, and just not enough ultimately. And, kudos to Arizona. Koa Pete's banged up, but you got Burries and Braden, and they're just super talented, really good basketball team that will not surprise anybody if they're cutting a bunch of nets next month and maybe raising the whole damn thing there at the end as the number 1 team in the country. So, a much more stressful encounter than I think Arizona fans probably anticipated. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe because you've been on this run where you've been playing team after team after team after team of like a murderer's row. You just played Kansas and Tech and BYU and Houston. And so now maybe there's a little bit of a and that helped Baylor. But regardless, it was a nice little scrap, and Arizona was the better team. No surprise when all was said and done.
Yeah, Arizona goes 2-0 in Texas, winning at Houston, winning at Baylor, and now the 2-game lead with 3 to play. A couple other notes last night. Texas Tech, they are 2-0 since JT Toppin was out for the year. And Christian Anderson, what a run that he is on. He has 31 points and 11 rebounds and 7 assists in the win last night against Cincinnati, who had just beaten KU. And in his 2 games since Toppin went out, he's averaged 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 8.5 assists per game. Grant McCaslin, when we mentioned, Paul, you were talking about Kelvin Sampson and Bill Self and a certain tier that are at. Grant McCaslin probably doesn't have enough meat on the bones overall, but he can coach. He's beaten those guys. He's on his way to maybe that kind of a career, but 2-0 since Toppin went out.
Yeah, they needed somebody to step up, and they didn't sit around and wait for it either. So that's good news for them. I don't know if they're deep enough to make a deep run with Toppin out, but so far they've shown that they can win without him, and that's a good sign.
I mean, I think it's awfully similar to Arizona, where you just are still a really good team. You're just good in a different way. You got to do things a little bit differently. Now, you're certainly better with Koa Pete than you're not, but you're still good enough to go win basketball games, and you might have to do it a little bit differently. I think Texas Tech's proving that they're certainly better with JT Toppin, but they can win games without him, and they can go about it a different way. I mean, they crushed Cincinnati on the boards last night. Christian Anderson was great, as you mentioned. Watts was really good for them, and they are a very talented team, even if the most talented player on that team is unavailable for the rest of the year. So, yeah, I think that's a scrappy bunch that you don't just count that as an automatic win now because their star is gone, because they've got some other star power. And so certainly I'm not going to project them to go farther than they would have with him, but can they still make a deep run and make some noise here in the next few weeks as far as the Big 12 tournament? I think they're proven right now, yeah, they absolutely can do that. So, yeah, Grant McCaslin can coach, and I think that they're, so long as he's there, going to be a team that's going to be one just like Arizona and Kansas and Duke and so on and so forth that you're going to have to reckon with. And even when they maybe lose some guys, they're still more than capable of rallying and still being a very good basketball team.
Hey, I want a team that last year went 20-17 in UCF. They were 20-17. They're now 20-7. After what they did at Provo, Utah against BYU last night, winning 97-84. They're a tournament team. They're going to get in the tournament. They have earned that right. They've now moved into 6th place in the Big 12 standings, and also have the quality schedule. That's a big deal for Johnny Dawkins.
They've got some quality wins. They're in quad one all over the place. UCF, and when you get wins in the Big 12 conference, you're going to. You had UCF stuns BYU on here, and I get it because that would be an upset. But BYU is injured as they are right now, and UCF playing as well as they are. It's not as big of a stunner as it would have been, say, 2 weeks ago, right? Because UCF. I mean, in Provo too, yeah. But
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that UCF won the game. I'm a little surprised that they won. And had a little distance between them at the end in Provo, but Johnny Dawkins has been coaching up UCF all year long, and it's been impressive to watch.
Remember when UCF opened up Big 12 play with a win against Kansas, and everyone was like, "Okay," they did, and that was that kind of maybe sent a message. Now, eventually, they kind of went into a little slide, but great win in Provo against BYU.
Yeah, I think we. Benefit of hindsight, probably should have started off with them as far as the impact of the win goes. I mean, as far as the impression that win makes, because you expected Arizona to beat Baylor, right? Texas Tech going back. I mean, maybe you have a little bit of a question about them, but you still know they're very good. UCF, is good, but to go into Provo, Utah, and be leading by
36.
By 30, doubling them up at their place, which many people say is the toughest place to play, not named like Allen Fieldhouse or whatever, McHale Center. Like, there's various venues that are all pretty good. Ames, obviously. But BYU's right up there near the top as far as size goes, right? Like 15,000 people. It's always sold out, shoulder to shoulder. It's always loud because the fans are all on the same page. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a shocker that they beat BYU, but I do think it was shocking that they went up there and kind of kicked their ass and made them like it. And then, yeah, BYU kind of closed the gap there in the second half late in the game, but it was never in question of who the better team was last night on that court, and it was UCF. And so that was mildly impressive. And not to take anything away from BYU, man, AJ DeBance is just crazy good. Like, he's unbelievably good, and man, it's going to be a real bummer to see him move on after this year, because those are the types of guys, like, not you, Chandler Morris, you go, but AJ DeBance, like, you could stay around for another year. I'd be happy to see that.
That's the one thing that bums me out about college basketball so much is, Craig, when you and I were growing up, even more so with Smokey, but when you and I were growing up, teams were together for 3-4 years. That's why the Fab Five was so intriguing, because you knew that you were going to get at least 3 years out of them. The Christian Laettner Dukes teams were able to build their either hero or villain nature depending on what side of the fence you were on in that, because it was the same guys that were playing every single year, and you got to kind of build that. Now, I mean, especially with the transfer portal and then one and dones on top of that, everything's so transactional in college basketball. It's hard to build a hero and a villain for a long stretch. It's just kind of year in and year out now.
Yeah, I mean, and there's upsides and downsides to that. There are certain times where you go, this guy doesn't really need to come back for a third year. They're forcing him to, though. I don't know that I agree with that, but it was nice, if you were just more concerned about your college team than about, the Mavericks or Clippers getting a pick or something. But, I mean, BYU's a really good team still, and they've got arguably the best player in the entire country right now. I know there's Boozer and others that all can contend for that prize, but I mean, they got a stud, an absolute stud, and a guy who was hyped to be that and has lived up to every single bit of that billing so far. So they got 3 more left. I think you obviously picture them beating West Virginia. Although in Morgantown, you got to go to Cincinnati, and then you close out with Texas Tech at home. So, I think you're left a little bit stunned by that loss, being the way that it was at home in particular, and now you got to go on the road for a couple games. So we'll see if they can get back on the saddle and get correct in time for the Big 12 tournament. But there's another loss or two there if they're not careful. Just another team that you feel like is capable of going 2-3 games deep. Another team that maybe goes a couple, and that's it. I mean, it's anybody's guess. That's why it's March Madness, right?
Well, so there was that win, and the reason you made a good point. The reason I brought that up the way I did, I was like, man, Arizona controls everything.
You're going by rankings, yeah.
Yeah, in a way. And then Tech, of course, wins again without Toppin. BYU, that was
best
impressive.
Win was UCF.
Absolutely, the UCF
and
win.
Arizona's was scrappy, and Baylor played really, really well. I mean, that wasn't don't look at Baylor's record and take too much from that. Baylor is, I think, better than their record, especially now. It seems like they're kind of, I don't know. It feels like the
coaching staff is finally maybe 80% into the season figured out who they are.
Yeah, so they're going to be kind of good for 3 more games, and then we'll see in the tournament. It's probably not going to last long. The Big 12 tournament, obviously not the big tournament, but I think as far as splash, the UCF win was by far the biggest win last night. And credit Johnny Dawkins, man, just
I reached out
incredible.
to them to get him on the show. I'm not sure if we will.
Yeah, I mean, whether we do or we don't, I mean, he's a great coach, and I'm happy for UCF. I mean, it's been mixed results kind of these first couple years in the Big 12, which I guess is now, year 3 at this point. But I think a lot of the focus was probably on football for obvious reasons, and then maybe a little bit here and there. But, yeah, UCF basketball is the one making waves right now, and it's awesome to see that, and it's fun to see the fan base getting supercharged by that. And Johnny Dawkins is a really easy coach to root for, and they don't have the star power of a lot of the other teams in the league, but they're a damn good team. So congrats to them. That was a great win.
That's why they'll be fun to watch in tournament play.
Score.
Because they score. Yeah. You don't really know who it's coming from. Mm-hmm. They know how to, and this is one of the things that they've done really well. They know how to feed the hot hand and get out of the way. And really good teams know that. Sometimes you have guys oh, this guy's hot. Well, let's see if we can get this guy hot. No, Johnny Dawkins keeps it simple. It's all right, this guy's just hit 4 shots in a row. Let's see if he can hit 8 shots in a row. Yeah, let's start building the offense around the hot thing and go in that way. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel every night, and I'm very impressed.
Well, from the beginning, they're these guys can score some points. I thought that BYU game would be 90-85, but I wasn't expecting that finish. Good for the Knights and also Johnny Dawkins. Also, TCU beats Arizona State. They're 8-7. They're going to be in a tournament. Iowa State thumps Utah, number 4 ranked team in the country. They win by 16. And then I want to bring up one of the notes. Go ahead.
Utah needs to step its game up. They need to get some investments going on the basketball side of things. I mean, it's somebody's got to be at the bottom end of the standings. But for as proud as they are on the football side, the basketball side leaves a lot to be desired.
It's not fun to watch if you're just a basketball fan in general. When Utah plays, they're not fun to watch. know what's going to happen. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, so not trying to like single them out, even though I just did, but they're not very good, and it's clear that like to be in this league, I think they're going to have to make some moves. And I saw an article from I think it was Steve Bartle, KSL. He's kind of outlining their recruiting and all that. So hopefully they can get it together. But yeah, right now it's kind of an afterthought.
Well,
Utah basketball.
The last NCAA tournament was 10 years ago.
I mean, worse than I could have thought. Worse than I thought.
Lost in the second round. Larry Kristoviak, former NBA player, was the coach, and then they lost in the regional semifinal, third round the year before. And then there was a run in the early 2000s when they were pretty good. Remember Rick Majerus at one point, great coach, was there. For a long time too, but it's been a while for them.
And I know it's in vogue for some Big 12 folks to like just like pan Utah at every turn, and some of that's like BYU influenced or whatever. But I love that they're in the league because I do think they create this kind of like angst with the BYU rivalry and how heated that is, and then just the way all the other teams like seemingly became rivals instantly because they were so about joining the Big 12. And I know that's mostly like a minority online fan base. But you do see people kind of going out of their way to take shots at them, and I want to make it very clear for any random Utah fan, that's not us. We're not going to do that. So I just say that because Utah's been a non-factor this year, and I just would like to see them be better than that. And I just saw an article, like I said, where next year was being discussed, so I hope they can scrounge together some talent and get their ducks in a row because, 10 years without a tournament – what win or appearance was that?
Appearance.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
They have not been in the NCAA tournament since 2015-16, 10 years ago.
It doesn't even matter what level you are in college basketball. Like, it doesn't matter if you're, like, out of – how many schools are there in D1?
350 or so.
It doesn't matter if you're, like, 332. You should make the tournament once in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so, yeah, for a school –
Well, if you're in a power conference – which in basketball is 5 or like
I was going to say, for a school
yeah,
like Utah.
The Big East has to be added.
Yeah, if you're a Power 5 conference in basketball, you should once a decade find your way into the tournament.
Right. So I don't mean to stop down and focus on them, but I hope they can get it together and get better because hey, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah,
for the love of Rick Majerus, let's get this right.
That's what I remember, man.
This one here got me. Oklahoma State beat West Virginia by 7. The game I think might have gone into overtime. But one of the sad parts about this, Parsa Fallah is out for the year, tore his ACL. This is an incredible story. He was from Iran. He was trying to get into the United States because he wanted to play college basketball. He couldn't get to a U.S. embassy. He eventually moved to Africa and spent about 3 or 4 months waiting to get the call to get his visa. Eventually goes to Southern Utah. He's been at Oregon State. This year, one of the most popular players at Oklahoma State, but he tore his ACL. There's a great podcast with him with Dave Hunsaker on YouTube if you are an Oklahoma State fan, but he is out for the year after a hell of a journey to get to where he is from Iran.
Yeah, I hope that he heals quick and that his basketball future is still there and that he can do whatever he wants after that because it is. I mean, it's a very harrowing journey and. You know, that there had to be a time where he's like, is there somewhere else I have to be or to do this? But he kept with it. So
yeah, he got $400 in his pocket. He spent $200 on the visa, and then he had 200 hours and had to stay. He was in Senegal for a long, long time, and eventually is now part of college basketball.
Yeah, you're leaving a little bit of the meat on the bone. The story and the journey is all great, but that injury happened literally at the very end of the game. Like, it was the final seconds of overtime, and, yeah, that was even more of a – it's one thing – it's not good either way, but, like, it's at the very end of – it's like the very end of the game. Like, you're 5 literal seconds from the game being over with, and you suffer this season-ending injury. That's just so brutal, man. That's just so absolutely brutal. I mean, it would have been the same thing if it was 5 seconds into the game, but you're that close to just, like, turning the page and going to the locker room and taking your shower and going to do whatever. And instead, the clock's ticking down, and now your season and your career's over. But he had very kind words to say for Oklahoma State, and that is a great story of dealing with adversity and just chasing your dreams, and the kind of the classical story of coming to America and living the American dream and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's a real shame, man, and that's a bummer. And I know there's a lot of Oklahoma State fans that hated to see that, but a lot of other people hated to see that as well.
Two more things to get to, and then we'll eventually we got again Brian Jefferies on Arizona Wildcats men's basketball. Milan Momcilovic, he broke the Iowa State record with 104 threes made. Dedrick Willoughby had the record in '97. This is for a single season. Iowa State can light it up too, and he broke the school record of more threes than anybody else now in 1 year. Here, do you have the standings?
The first time I watched him play, I'm surprised he didn't break that record in that game.
Yeah, no, I think we have the standings. This is from Greg Wrubell, the voice of BYU, but I just took this part from his tweet. There are the standings. Look at that. 4 teams, two back of Arizona. UCF looks locked in, and then also you see what BYU 8-7, TCU 8-7, and the possibility of West Virginia or Cincinnati probably going to get 8 into the tournament with a week and a half left in the season.
If Cincinnati keeps playing how they're playing, they'll bust the bubble. And
well, they mauled Kansas, and then they lost at Tech, which is not a surprise. But they did maul Kansas, and that won't hurt them when they look at their resume.
They've at least put themselves in a position to be in the conversation with what they've done recently. So, I mean, last night was a bit of a hit, but what they did prior to that's put them in a position where they've got some things to go out and accomplish and some things to chase. So, I think Cincinnati is that team, that's the bubble-like team that you're eyeing right now. I mean, it's pretty clear that everybody below them's not a factor.
Not unless they win the tournament in Kansas City.
But Cincinnati's kind of the cutoff line there.
Hey, this is interesting. The Big 12, the first 4 teams, the top 4 teams get 2 rounds of bye. They don't play in the first round. They don't play in the second round. If the season ended today, which is not, Houston would be the 5th seed, and they would have to play in the second round, kind of a play-in game to get into the quarterfinals. So there's a note with that right now, with that stack of 11-4 teams. When we come back, he's the voice of Arizona football, baseball, but also the Wildcats with a win last night in Waco. Brian Jefferies will join us next, and this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be and need to be and used to be. What does used to be mean? As you get older, usually upper 30s, 40s, early 40s, you start to have 1 out of every 3 to 4 men, their testosterone level drops. This is for men. The testosterone level will drop. And when it does, it will affect you. Women have hormones, men have testosterone. And if you don't have enough of it, it can affect your energy. It can affect your locked in and getting things done. It can affect your sex drive, your performance, even if you have that, or a lot of things. So if you have any of those symptoms, doesn't mean it's your low T if it's down, but it could be. Go to pettycliniclowt.com. Tell them I sent you. Dr. Kent Petty will set you up. You get your blood work, get the results, look at your T level, and if it is too low, he can put you in a program, give you the option so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. It's in Waco at pettycliniclowt.com.
Hemi is back, and it's Truck Month at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new Ram 1500 Bone Start Crew Cab with $10,000 off or 0% financing, plus the best truck warranty in America at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
A
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
365
is 365 Sports.
Yep, that's what we are. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina with me. David Smoak and Brian Jefferies, voice of the Arizona Wildcats, joins us after the long night in Waco, the 2-0 trip in Texas to Houston 2, and he joins us on 365 Sports. Brian, thank you very much for your time. Was last night, one, Baylor's playing better after what has been a very sluggish year, but how much do you feel like there was a little bit of a drop just because of the emotional win in Houston earlier in the week?
Oh, I don't think there was any doubt about that. You can't win a game like that and not have a little bit of a letdown, especially when you're on the road and it's a long road trip. And as you guys have well chronicled, Arizona was shorthanded. They're down 2 of their players out of their rotation of 8. And so you look at the stamina that they needed to play with, and I think the energy, and it was lacking early on, but give Baylor a lot of credit too. I mean, they played an exceptional game early on. They came out with a lot of fire. They've got talent. And so it just took a while for the Wildcats to figure it out and kind of get back in gear. And it was a very hard-fought win. That was one of the best road trips. Well, Arizona's been in the Big 12 only 2 years, but I go back a long ways. It's one of the best road trips the Wildcats have had just in terms of the environment and the competition and the way they had to win the games.
Koa Pete was listed as questionable for last night's game. How close is he? And how confident is the team now that they've been able to do this without him for a couple of games?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how close he is. I think he's getting close. There's no doubt about that. Tommy Lloyd's made it very clear that it's sooner rather than later. I think they're going to be extra careful with him because he is so valuable to this team. And the big picture starts in March, and that's where the Wildcats want to be at their best. They're in a great position right now. They've got two tough home games coming up, but they have a chance to clinch the Big 12 championship this weekend at home. And if they could get that done, and without Koa, I think that that would bode well for the long run. They want to make sure he's 100%. Arizona's not going to win the national championship without him, and so they've got to be very careful, very conservative in terms of his recovery. But he is getting closer. The day before and the day of the game in Waco, he was going through some light workouts, which he hadn't done before. So that tells me that he's well on the road to recovery.
What's been the kind of reaction from your standpoint and just Arizona fans in general, and what life in Big 12 hoops has been like the last couple of seasons? Because it's just the way the schedule's folded out across the league. I mean, we're getting mega matchup after mega matchup, and I would just think for Arizona fans, it's got to be a lot of fun, albeit challenging as well. But how would you say these couple of years have gone as far as just the excitement level of basketball in this league?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, because I've got some history. I've been around the Arizona program for a long, long time, and of course, started in the Pac-10, then it became the Pac-12, and I was disappointed, upset when the Pac-12 imploded. But one thing I realized moving to the Big 12 is that the basketball conference is as good as it gets. And to see the rivalries that Arizona would be able to start getting into the Big 12, I was excited about that. It's continued. The environment that you go into every road game is just tremendous, something you didn't see in the Pac-12. And, last night in Waco, a great example. Houston, Kansas, I could go on forever. In terms of going into these different buildings now, and it's just there's energy, there's excitement for me. I think where the fans are still trying to figure out all the rivalries. I mean, going in, you knew Arizona, Kansas, instant rivalry. There was no doubt about that. But the other schools now, I think the fans are trying to figure out, okay, who are our biggest rivals, or maybe it's everybody because of the depth of this league. So it's been tremendous so far. And I'm looking forward to the next 3 games, the tournament, and everything that comes beyond that.
Because of the loss to Arizona over the weekend, and then, of course, KU beating on Big Monday at KU, they've lost 3 in a row. Houston has. Arizona was on the verge of that, losing at Kansas by 4, then losing at home to Texas Tech by 3, and then playing BYU, which is, of course, a team that's, even with Saunders, is very dangerous. And then winning at Houston. They've been through their battering ram, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, we called it the gauntlet when this got started, and it's not over yet with Kansas and Iowa State coming up. And I think the Big 12, and from what my understanding is, that this is the way they set up the schedule. They wanted the best matchups, the top teams playing one another down the stretch after the Super Bowl. It's great television. It's great for the conference, and it's certainly worked out that way with some outstanding games here in the last few weeks, and I think it's going to continue for another week or so, and then on to the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. So like I said, great environment, and Arizona's been able to win without a full roster, and I think that's credit to the coaching staff and certainly to the players, because they've had to dig deep to win these last couple of bowl games. And you mentioned the losses there at Kansas. I mean, it's hard to win there, as you guys know. The loss at home to Texas Tech, they still had Toppin at that point. Arizona shorthanded, but they've been able now to kind of change some things. The Wildcats have changed some things and have come up with now 3 straight wins and very valuable ones.
How big are these next 2 home games, just in the aura of this conference right now?
Oh, I mean, it's huge. I mean, like I said, Arizona, Kansas, instant rivalry, and I think that looking back at the game at Fog Allen. Darren Peterson didn't play in that bowl game. Give the Jayhawks all the credit in the world for winning without him. I'm going to assume he's going to play this week. And so the Arizona fans are itching to see this game, and not just because of the loss earlier, but again, it just goes back to the rivalry. And then you got Iowa State, and right now you could make the argument just on the way things have shaken out with the injuries at BYU and at Texas Tech, and now Houston loses 3 in a row. Arizona and Iowa State might be the 2 top teams in the Big 12 right now. And so that will be senior night for Arizona on a Monday on top of that. So this weekend is probably as anticipated and as exciting for Arizona fans in a long, long time.
So you do football, basketball, and baseball. A lot of guys do around the country, but that's with Arizona's history in baseball and, of course, what they have done in basketball. And the football team was a lot better last year, better than I thought they were going to be. How much time do you have, and when is your off time, if at all?
I look at it this way. I'm still in school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 9 months out of the year, I've got class every week, several classes every week. And then once baseball season ends, I get to take a break, get that summer vacation for a while, and then get back at it. And of course, you never know. And like you said, baseball program has been outstanding. I've been to Omaha a number of times now. We were there last year, and so you never know when baseball is going to end. So you really don't know. My wife and I were just talking about that. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this June, and we're like, okay, well, am I going to be home for that or not? I don't know yet. And so, but it's fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've been blessed to be around some outstanding teams over the the many decades I've been at this, and it's fun. So I'll enjoy it as long as it lasts.
Well, you know what they say, that there's no place to go for a 40th anniversary like Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes. Well, I keep telling if you're a baseball fan, to me, it's a bucket list. And even if Arizona wasn't playing, I tell people, go to the College World Series. I mean, Omaha does an incredible job hosting that thing. It really is. And so I haven't talked my wife into that yet. She doesn't like road trips because I have to work. But one of these days, and maybe that's it. Maybe if Arizona doesn't make the College World Series this year, maybe I can talk her into Omaha for our anniversary.
What are your thoughts about Brett Brennan? Because after 24, there's some murmurs with the change in the coaching staff, with Jed Fish moving up to Washington, but they bounced back. And in the Big 12, we see 2 or 3 teams at the bottom surge to the top or the upper tier. And your thoughts about what he did to turn that thing back around last year?
Yeah, here's the way I looked at it. When Brent Brennan got hired, of course, you look back, okay, I didn't know him. He had been a GA at Arizona 1 year, some 20-odd years ago. But then I looked at what he did at San Jose State. And anybody that's familiar with San Jose State football knows that is an incredibly difficult place to win. You're buried behind the NFL and major college football. You don't have a large fan base there, and he was able to win at San Jose State. And so I thought, okay, if you can win there, you can probably win just about anywhere. He walked into a tough situation. When Jed Fish left, it was late. That meant that Brett Brennan got hired late. The transfer portal, I mean, that can affect any team. Fish took 10 players with him to Washington, some of the best players on the Arizona roster. And so it put Brett Brennan in a tough spot there to get started. And yeah, they went 4-8, and a lot of people thought, well, coming off a 10-win season and you go 4-8, was this the right hire? What direction are we going in? Well, you just had to give Brennan some time. And so then he had the opportunity to have a full recruiting season, hit a home run in the portal, and inherited an outstanding quarterback in Noah Fafita. And then they turn around this year and win 9 games, get to a bowl. And so that tells you about Brett Brennan and the type of guy he is, the type of coach he is. I think he's a perfect fit for Arizona. And so he could be here a long, long time if he wants to be, and if he continues to have success, which I think this program is built to do. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the conference championship this year or any year or at least every year. But I think that he's got a great chance to have a consistent winning program.
Last thing from me, Brian. Thank you for your time. And I know you're on your way. You were traveling into Phoenix from Tucson. So Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, they make the move. There was a lot of angst, and also, they wanted to stay where they were. All of them did. Some maybe fought it more than others. Now that they're a couple of years into it, what do you think?
Well, I'm more encouraged than ever. And yeah, you're right. Like I said, being around the Pac-10 and Pac-12 all my life, and I was actually born when it was the Pac-8. Mm-hmm. And so that was been my entire life. And so it was very difficult to see the whole thing fall apart. And so, yeah, there was a lot of trepidation. There was a lot of questions. What's it going to be like? From a professional viewpoint, going into cities you've never been before and you don't know your way around in new schools, environments, etc. But now that we've had a chance to absorb it, like I said, easy in basketball because of the level of play in the league. Football, learning, again, these new rivalries now. But one thing I have come to know now in the Big 12 is that athletics is strong at every school. And so not only traveling to these new places, but playing the teams in Tucson, the fans travel well, and it is. I think it's a great league. I think they have an outstanding commissioner. The schools have great leadership, and I see the conference building momentum, and that doesn't mean they're going to add new teams. I don't know what the future has to hold, but I just think the Big 12 is in a great position right now as one of the top leagues in the country, no matter what sport you're looking at.
His broadcast career started in 1975 in Yakima, Washington. And here he is now, the voice of Arizona Wildcats athletics. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your time. Safe travel.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much. We'll see you.
Brian Jefferies, voice of Arizona. Win last night in Waco. The huge win over the weekend at Houston. And 2 games up with 3 games to play in the Big 12. If you were to put the 4 schools overall, the entire athletic department, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State, and we discussed Utah in basketball, they got to step it up. Who of those 4 in order did not, scratched and clawed, not to be a part of the Big 12?
Well, Arizona essentially ran through the door.
Colorado ran through the door.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Colorado was probably at the spearhead of it all. They've been trying to apparently come back on multiple occasions, or at least we're looking at that. So Colorado, and then, I think the Arizona schools, and then Utah, at least the way they act sometimes, and they's very broad brushing, 5 people on Twitter, but and their AD, who's probably one of those guys on Twitter, actually. That would not surprise me. Mark Harlan had a burner and was like bashing the Big 12. I mean, honestly, would it surprise you?
No.
No. If he was like Ute 66 and he's just bashing the hell out of the league. I think Utah was the most resistant just based on their fan reaction. But I think if you're also to go who's added the most value, that'd be a much more interesting question because they're there. It doesn't matter who was resistant to it. You're here now. Maybe that leads to you being the first out the door when an opportunity comes. But I think all 4 have provided some level of value. I'd say top to bottom, it'd probably be one of the 2 Arizona schools. I mean, Utah's been okay. Colorado had the Heisman Trophy winner, so I give them bonus points for that, for just at least carrying the TV ratings for a while and having some big moments. It's just for them, it fades out every year. It starts big and then it lessens and lessens as the picture becomes clear that they're really not who you hoped they would be as a Colorado / Dion fan, because there's a little bit of both going on there for sure. And I think it's going to be fascinating when he leaves what the Colorado fan base looks like. Now, maybe and hopefully that doesn't happen for 10 years, and he's there for a long time. But I do think so much of their fan base is like half Colorado fan and it's like half Dion fan. But because of that factor, they've been noisy in good ways, and even when it's been negative, it's still any attention's good attention, right? So Utah was good and I can't speak to like softball and all those things just off the top of my head. So maybe Utah's been great in soccer. I don't know. But as far as the big money revenue sports go, I mean, Arizona's more than carrying their weight right now. That's for sure. I can say that about them. And Arizona State winning the Big 12 football title, they've obviously already accomplished a lot. So, they're all 4 still kind of finding their ways, I think, but they've all brought something to the table in some form or fashion. In the case of Utah, it's mostly been just being the new public enemy number 1 for everybody to bash on.
Yeah, because of their AD, Brian Harlan, Mark Harlan has, he's been grumpy. One of the things that we developed, we've had Dillingham on at Arizona State, Brennan on at Arizona. We're not going to get Dion unless it's just one of those moments where he just sits down at our table at a media day. Probably not going to happen, but it doesn't mean we don't ask. And then Whittingham was on probably 3 or 4 times, even the year before they joined the Big 12.
Your acceptance level of schools, like, did we get their head coach on the show or not?
They're dealing with some of the media relations, which I do all the time. They've all been really good. There does seem to be 1 or 2 that are more of a he's not ready. And I get that. They don't really maybe know much of who we are, and that's fine. But BYU didn't know much of who we are, neither did UCF or Cincinnati or Houston, but they jumped in right away and wanted to be a part of what we do to cover the conference.
Yeah, I think that overall, I mean, Arizona State winning in football, they want to get better in basketball. Arizona State, though, is also new to caring about athletics. To
Arizona get better in basketball?
Arizona State.
No, you said Arizona, but okay.
I'm pretty sure I said Arizona State, but whatever. But Arizona State has to get better in basketball, but they won the football title. They're new to caring about sports. They're very new to it, at least to the level that they need to care about it.
It's been a while.
And so, especially in the modern part, look, they got their big, 8-figure check that they wanted last week. Like, those are the things that they're new at when it comes to all this. Utah's not new at it. Colorado, I don't think is new at it, but they've just kind of they've been in this lost zone since they went to the Pac-12, where they really weren't who they were before, and they couldn't ever find who they were. Arizona probably from those 4 schools is the one who, at least at all fronts, is the most complete athletic department currently. But that remains to be seen. I could make an argument that Houston being really, one of the best basketball teams in the country, and then now with Willie Fritz in there, an up-and-coming football program is of the new teams, pulling their weight as much as anybody else.
Well, if we start doing the other 4 too, BYU, and then but of the Pac schools, I think Arizona's done a really good job so far.
Arizona State's baseball team, I know it's early, but unbeaten. They're like 8, 10, 12, and 0 or something like that. I just saw a note on that earlier in the day. Now, when we come back, we will hear from John Cooper from Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft, and then Matt Tate joins us at around 4:40 on Big 12 basketball and much more. We appreciate your time today. If you have not hit the like button, please do. If you have not subscribed, please do. If you have, tell somebody else about what we do, because this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco with Ted Teague. Man, they took care of me a couple of weeks ago when I had to get my car, just the oil change and much more, just check all the bells and whistles, and everything worked out great. And while they were doing that, I drove around in a Jeep Wrangler. It was fantastic. It was smoother than any Jeep I've ever driven, if it's been a loaner or not, and it was very quiet. I was very, very impressed. And Truck Month right now is at the dealership. This is what they have. The brand new 2025 Ram 2500 Crew Cab, the Rebel, you can get $11,200 off. How about the Ram 1500 Tradesman Crew Cab, $39,990. Not just one, but they have a handful of those available on the lot. Brand new. Also, Texas style and comfort. The 2026 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $11,000 off MSRP. And the ultimate heavy-duty luxury truck, 2026 Ram 3500 Limited Mega Cab. It's a big word, big name, waiting for $13,000 in savings. Don't forget Ram's best-in-class warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles, second to none. Alan Samuels, David Gray, ask for him or those who work underneath of him. It's a friendly atmosphere. He's the sales manager, and Ted Teague, CEO and GM, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
At the Start Something New sales event at Alan Samuels, drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or a new Laramie Crew Cab with 3.9% plus $15,000 off MSRP. Shop Alan Samuels at Waco.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports on this Wednesday afternoon. It warmed up where we are here in the middle of Texas. Not sure what it's like wherever you are, but we appreciate your time and the fact we do go coast to coast. The NFL Combine really ramping up in Indianapolis. It started, the Combine, first year in Indianapolis was in 1987. It became permanent when the NFL had started in many other places, including New Orleans, among others. John Cooper, our lad's guide to the NFL draft, NFL scout, joins us on 365 Sports. And John, thank you very much for your time. So when you were going to the Combine consistently, what was it that maybe you were more focused on than anything else?
Well, the workouts were important. That was probably the biggest thing. And we didn't get to do it, but the teams that were involved, that they would interview the players. Those player interviews were very important. The weight room, the medical, all the information was important. For the workouts were probably more important back then because we didn't have access to all the GPS data that they have today. So the 40 time, the shuttle for certain positions, those things were pretty important. Strength, flexibility. There were a lot of things you looked at. And so those workouts were really important. People were really focused on those.
John, number 2 quarterback. Who is it? We all know who the number 1 is. It's Mendoza. Who's the number 2 guy to you?
Well, in our mind, it's Ty Simpson. And there's a drop-off from Mendoza quite a bit in terms of readiness to play. Ty Simpson, in our mind, is not quite ready to be the guy. And I think he would benefit if a team would draft him and work with him, sit him on the bench, let him develop, and be the starter in another year. That
like
doesn't
say
happen
the
very often
Rams?
anymore. When you draft a quarterback high, you want him to play. But that's what I think would happen. Simpson has great talent, but he's very inconsistent.
Like the Rams, maybe?
Do real well.
Would the Rams be a fit for that?
Yes, I believe they would be if that's the route they want to go.
John, I know you're probably spending so much time on guys that did declare. Did you ever get enough eyes on Trinidad Chambliss to have a feel if he were to have come out of where he would have fit in the big picture here?
Yeah, we think he could have been the second best quarterback in the draft, to be honest with you. Again, it's a traits-based player. He's not just a passer. He's a great athlete. He does a lot of things very well. He got a good arm. He's got some development that he has to do as well, but he's a really good creator with his feet, and we thought he was a guy that could come in and be a difference maker. I think it's good that he stayed in, though. I think he has a chance to develop, a chance to play. I mean, he's a guy that's obviously had a lot of success. A national champion twice. We really like him, and we think he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback.
John Cooper, our last guide to the NFL draft. John, tell everybody before we get to the next question or 5, what about your draft mock guide that you send out? I think you send that out in the early part of April and have people time for them to grab it and have it for the draft.
Yeah, go to the Ourlads website, ourlads.com. It's very simple. Google that and throw it in the space up above on the computer. And when you get to the website, you'll see a spot in the upper left-hand corner of the web page. It'll say buy draft guide. All you do is click on that, and you can buy it online. And the book will be out. This is what it looks like. This is last year's guide. It'll be out in April. We believe we're going to mail it right after Easter or right around or right before Easter. And the mail is not real fast these days, but it gets to people in time for a couple of weeks of study it before the draft. But yeah, we're working on that right now. We're putting it together, and we should go to the printer by the end of the third week of March.
You have Jeremiah Love on your top 32 as the number 2 ranked player in this draft. How often do you have running backs that high comparatively to some of the guys who have been big-time stars like Ashton Jeanty and Bijan Robinson from the last few years?
Not very often. I think back to Saquon Barkley as somebody that, we were very, very high on and had him, very high in the draft. Now, just because we have him number 2 doesn't mean he's going to go number 2. He could go all the way down to 10 or 11 or 12. We just happen to think, as far as athletic talent, he's the second best player at this point. No, we're still studying. We're still massaging the board, so to speak. But that's where we're at right now.
Have you had an opportunity to watch much of Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson? He's a guy we had close eyes on the last couple of years, and somebody who, and I know a lot of times the preseason hype is not really matching reality when we get around the draft time, but he was somebody who's getting a lot of talk early on and then just had kind of an average sort of season. Where is he in your mind as far as, I guess, how he's being looked at and what he needs to do now through this process?
Well, he's a developmental prospect for the NFL. He's got some flaws in his game. Arm strength is an accuracy sometimes. He does some things well. Good pocket presence most of the time. But he's a guy that's going to have to develop if he's going to be more than a backup. I don't think he's a guy that's going to come in and take over the room right away. But yet he's definitely is a prospect, and I think he's draftable. He's somebody that you might see on the second, third day. Most likely third day, and he'll have a spot in an NFL roster, and he'll have a chance to become a player, but he should be a good backup.
John, I saw this pop up, and I guess it's over the last day or two about Reuben Bain. Is he the one that there's debate about his length of arms like there was with the tackle from LSU, Campbell? Is that the case with Bain? Because when I watch him play, and I know you guys can get very technical and down to the minute, down to the inch and millimeter, but, man, he looked like a baller.
I'm with you. We don't have the length, the actual length right now. That hopefully we'll get that at the combine. I'm looking at my list right now. We've got the list. We've got it on most of these guys, but he's one we don't. But just watch him play. He's got a good punch. He's quick. He can play inside. He's a great on stunts. There's an emphasis on length, and one of the things that we like to look at, he's only 6'2". If his wingspan is in the 75, 76, 77 range, we're not going to worry about whether his arms are real short. If he's got a plus wingspan, that's going to be the most important thing. And if he can lock somebody out with arms that are an inch shorter than the next guy, that doesn't matter. He's got really quick hands, and he does an awful lot of things well. He plays at a good pad level, good technician. We think he's a top 5 pick.
Who is and this is obviously different because there might be a guy who is actually a small school guy and transferred up now, but is there a small school guy that you like in this draft, or would it be one of those that I mentioned that was at a place for a couple years and then moved up to the bigger leagues?
Yeah, I think it's more of that. The thing that we've found is that, guys that transfer up from it's almost like group of 6 as it is going to be, is like a farm system for Power 4. And the FCS schools are becoming a farm system with a portal, for the group of 6. And so you're not seeing as many of these small school guys that are coming into the draft and are ready to play. Now, there's a number of guys. Okay, there's a kid from Southeast Louisiana that is got a chance. There's some HBCU guys that are down the line that have a chance. Quarterback from North Dakota. He definitely is a guy that Cole Payton that we think has a chance. We think he's solid. We think he's a good third-day pick, and we think he can develop, into a starter. He may have more upside than some of these other guys we're talking about. That's kind of where we're seeing it. There's there's less underclassmen coming out, so more of these guys are transferring and playing a fifth year and becoming players. There's a guy from that's playing at Miami that we think is a sleeper, um, Blay Jr., a defensive tackle, that he was playing in at one of the group of five last year, group of five schools, Louisiana schools. A terrific player, good pass rusher. He got to Miami and he was a rotational player, playing along with Bain and Moten and some really, really good Mesidor. And he was basically a rotational player, and he was playing on rundowns. But he's got some pass rush talent, and he didn't even get an invite to the combine. But this was a guy that transferred up from a less prominent school to play at Miami and played for the national championship and had a great season, but he was a rotational player. Didn't get the snaps he had the year before, where he was an all-conference football player. He still made honorable mention as a rotational player. And, no combine invite, but that's the kind of guy you're seeing typically, from the FCS schools. They're transferring up.
You mentioned Ruben Bain.
The group of six schools.
You mentioned Ruben Bain. I think he's got a bright future. What say you, John?
Ruben Bain?
Yes, sir.
Yes, definitely. There was a time we thought he might be the best player in the draft. We're not sure that's the case anymore, but we think he's definitely in the top five.
Yeah,
and whoever gets him is going to get a really good player.
That's what I was saying. Sometimes and I understand the length of arms and all that. The son of a bitch can play.
Yeah, he
can just play. God, I love it. I mean, he and Mesidor, who I know is a little bit older, man, their motors don't ever stop.
Well, these are two really, really good football players. And, and that's why I look at David Blay, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, I can't believe the combine people didn't invite him. He didn't have a great year in terms of statistics, but when he was on the field, he was making a difference. So he was playing two gap. Those linebackers were flowing to the ball partly because of him, and then he'd rotate out, and Moten would come in and rush the passer, and he'd get the sacks, and he'd get the opportunities in those passing situations. So that was a great defensive line, and they had another backup too that was going to come out next year, that is a player. And of course, Moten went back to school. That surprised me because we think Moten would have been one of the better tackles in this draft had he come out. So that's the thing that you're seeing. As these guys are, getting the opportunity to play another year of football, they're making really good money, with the NIL, and so there's not a need to jump into the NFL draft right away.
Do you find that is better for development for these guys, or at that point are they kind of who they are and it doesn't change that much? Does that make sense?
In most cases, it's better for their development to stay in another year. Doesn't always work out that way. We had some guys that stayed in and didn't play as well, and their draft stock was hurt. You've seen that happen too. So, but they're still making good money with the NIL. In some cases, they're making more if they would have been a third or fourth round draft pick.
John, we talked about quarterback, how there's a deep drop off, and then there's even, it seems like a bigger one between Ty Simpson, and then it gets kind of steep on the way down. Is there another position like that? Or, I mean, just from my looking at it, it seems like there are a lot of positions that are reasonably well spread out and deep in this draft.
I'd say linebacker is deep, cornerback is deep. There's a lot of corners, not necessarily the elite corners that you've had in some drafts in the past where you had five really, really good ones. But there's depth there for sure at wide receiver. There's a lot of players that we think we have about 40 guys right now that could be draftable. And they won't all get drafted probably, but we think they all are going to have draftable grades. So those are really strong positions there. Defensive tackle, interior defender is, we think, maybe the weakest position in the draft. It's hard to find a guy that we think should have a first round grade. There are some guys, and there's some guys that have good traits but aren't really great players at this point in their career. We're going through that right now, and we're scratching our heads. We're trying to find, some guys that we think can play right away as a defensive lineman. There's going to be some rotational guys for sure, and some guys that have great, like I said, traits that have a chance to develop.
Hey, man, great to have you. Now, here's what OurLads.com. You can get the pre-draft magazine. It's fantastic. I've got like 25 from over the years. And number two, when they have their top 32, that doesn't mean that's how they think it will go. That's ranking the players and how they look at them as pro prospects 1 through 32. John, thank you, buddy.
On our website, you'll have a top 32, and that's just how we rank the players, not necessarily how they get drafted. And we do a mock draft every so often. We're going to do another one next week. And that's the way, if we were picking for the team, how we would draft.
Yep. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. John Cooper, OurLads.com, Our Lads Guide to the NFL Draft with us on 365 Sports. And great to have him when we do between now and the draft in, what is it? Is it late April now, or is it into May? It's late April, I guess.
I don't remember the exact date, but yeah, it's in April. I think I'm going to ask him about Arch next time and see how much he's seen of Arch and just kind of like where he would be. But I didn't want to ask multiple questions about guys that aren't in the draft. But interesting to hear his comments on Trinidad Chambliss. And, hey, I'm sure Chambliss is making more money than he would make going to be whatever he would end up being in the NFL, at least initially. But there is a massive gap after the top couple of guys, and there's arguably a pretty big one between those couple of guys, the way it sort of stands right now. So, once you get past Mendoza, obviously is going number 1 overall. I mean, there's no way that doesn't happen outside of an asteroid hitting Earth, basically, or Mark Davis just at 2 a.m. in Las Vegas on a bender or something decides to like call in the pick then or something. But other than that, Mendoza's going number 1, and then there's Ty Simpson wherever, and then it's like, okay, good luck if you need a quarterback. I mean, for a top level one.
Okay, it's Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson. They still had Trinidad Chambliss listed, which should be what's very telling in that it's Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Carson Beck, Sawyer Robertson,
bunch of guys who
Luke Altmaier, Cade Klubnik, and Baron Morton.
A bunch of guys who were all disappointing as far as the first few names you mentioned, and then Klubnik was okay. Baron Morton was okay. So, yeah, there's not a lot there. There's not a lot there as far as, like, jumping off the page at you and going, oh, yeah, that's a surefire, high-level NFL draft pick guy. I mean, those are all pretty good college quarterbacks, some more disappointing than others. Nussmeier with an awful year compared to expectations. But, you know, there's stuff that goes into that, obviously. But, yeah, there's none of those. You rattled off a bunch of guys who this time last year were talking about, that's number 1 pick and first-round pick. And
no question.
All those guys are like, yeah, I guess I'd pick him like the 2nd or 3rd round maybe or later. But, good to have John on and good to have the draft around the corner and interested to see where a lot of these guys land, even though there's absolutely no drama as far as the number 1 overall pick goes. I mean, that's as much of a lock as there can be right now.
And John McClain's trying to get us another analyst, and there's a couple others that I have that we've had on before that we'll start to have as we now get through the combine. Then it's NFL free agency with a lot going on there.
So did Paul hear the news about the Big 12 combine? I don't think you ever really officially stated that.
It's you want to know this?
I mean, I don't.
It's in Casper, Wyoming.
It's in Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Yormark's trying to get he thinks features out west.
They want to have a deal with the. It's not in Casper, Wyoming.
I don't think you got me.
But you know what though? I could have kept that going, and because it's Brett Yormark, you would have started to believe it after a while because you're like, well, he
back
wants
on
to play
campuses.
He wants to play basketball
on the campuses.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
I know.
That sucks.
I really like that.
That's
2 days.
That's a terrible idea, Brett. Pro days are the worst. They're the worst.
We had Josh Cameron on, and he kind of, he wasn't hiding a secret or anything.
No.
He just was saying, like, yeah, I think we're going back to regular pro days because obviously he's got a plan for that. And so we were like,
yep,
that's interesting. And so you reached out to the Big 12, and there's no Big 12 combine. So that was a fun event for us for interview sakes and being able to see a lot of people and everything. But I'm also not going to cry over it necessarily.
Right.
But, yeah, I can understand where if you're Iowa State, or this was my point, if you're somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of representation, or you're somebody who has a lot of it like Texas Tech, you don't want to share your pro day. Yeah. You built this big-ass facility that's been like in every magazine now at this point that covers things like this, and you've got this large class of guys. You're like, why do we need to share the spotlight with KU or Baylor or whoever? Like, make everybody come out to this facility out in Lubbock and just raise our stock. And so I could see it from that point of view. I can also see if you're like just Kansas State or something. Like, you don't want to travel from Manhattan to Dallas if you don't have to, just for like 3 guys to go do their drills. You can just do that here. But I would imagine the scouts are probably a little bummed. I don't know how much they got out of that, but it was an interesting experiment to try. I don't think that's probably off the table to return to at some point, but they gave it a go for a couple years. It was what it was. It was fun for us, but yeah, they're not doing it this year.
We broke the we started the coverage there. That was a lot of fun.
I know that there's a lot of people, and I don't want to sound ungrateful for this job because I'm never not. I've always been grateful for it. But I will tell you my least, and I love the draft. You guys know I love the draft. I love the draft more than anybody in this room. I love it. The part I don't like about the draft, because I don't think it really matters all that much, are these stupid pro days. Like, I really don't.
I think they matter to some degree, but yeah, they're not the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like a lack of and maybe I'm just in the wrong circles online or not online enough to, like, feel the hype for the combine. It feels like it's just sort of arrived, and I'm not, like, really looking forward to too much. Maybe it's the lack of intrigue at number one, but I don't know. We could talk about that later. We have a little bit of talk time, and I want to get into a lawsuit that's now going to be going on in the Big 12 that I think is of note. So do we want to do that on the other side, or what do we want to do here?
We have Matt Tate at 440-ish. He's got to be off before 5, which that's going to be his challenge. Because
let's just talk about it here then. And Andrew, maybe this is a segment because it's newsworthy, but breaking news from Justin Williams at The Athletic. The University of Cincinnati has filed a lawsuit against former quarterback Brendan Sorsby, who is now at Texas Tech, seeking a payment on a $1 million buyout from a multi-season revenue-sharing deal between Sorsby and Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is seeking the $1 million buyout, as I mentioned, in the form of liquidated damages for breaking the multi-season revenue-sharing agreement. And the lawsuit was filed Wednesday by the University and U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Ohio Western Division. Says in July 25, Sorsby, while represented by a pro agent, signed an 18-month, 2-season NIL agreement with Cincy, and that the school agreed to pay Sorsby a substantial amount for 2025, quote, with the express expectation that it would realize the majority of the benefits during the following season, 2026, after Sorsby's play developed and his brand grew. So they were looking at the long game of this thing. It says also that Sorsby had promised to pay to the university $1 million in liquidated damages if he transferred to another university before completion of the agreement's full term, and the full term lasts until December 31st of this year. So clearly didn't come anywhere close to that. The buyout was due to Cincy within 30 days of his transfer. The buyout did not apply if he left for the NFL. And the lawsuit states that prior to initiating litigation, Cincinnati had reached out to Sorsby's representation, who advised that Sorsby refuses to pay the university anything. And it goes into the representation of Sorsby as far as his agents. And Texas Tech not referenced or directly identified. So this is not Cincinnati versus Tech, although it is. It's Cincinnati versus Brendan Sorsby. Now, a couple of follow-ups on that. Justin Williams did have a tweet with some statements from the schools themselves and a statement from Brendan Sorsby as well. So from Brendan Sorsby's rep at Lift Sports, pursuing legal action against Brendan Sorsby's misguided, Cincinnati, through its rev share structure, paid him $875,800 for a season he fully completed, and in that time he generated millions in value for the program, attempting to recover those funds now sends the wrong message to current and future student athletes and risks damaging the long-term credibility of Cincinnati football. This is further disappointing given that Brendan parted ways with UC in what was a mutually agreeable manner. The money the university seeks to recover from him is nothing more than an unlawful penalty under Ohio law. Because UC has chosen to pursue this course of action, Brendan will aggressively defend the lawsuit and pursue any and all damages he incurs as a result of it. So there's that.
He signed with Tech, and I know Tech's not really a part of this, but they can get involved here. He signed on January 4th. It's been 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, but, you know,
we don't just overnight lawsuit somebody.
Yeah, but you also, I'm sure there's probably a month of, like, are we going to get this money or what's going to be the deal? Yeah. And the written contract or the signed contract, whatever he did, like, it says in that Sorsby said he would pay back $1 million The contract says he should pay back $1 million if that's the case.
And Sorsby's saying, I'm not paying it.
Yeah, and Sorsby's and I guess he's trying to figure out a way not to pay it. But
who was the quarterback at Washington that was going to leave?
Damon Williams.
Yeah,
but he also had it like written down, like you can't do this, you can't have all this. Sorsby's contract appears to have it pretty clear language that if you transfer before, there's $1 million penalty. Now he's making $4 or $5+ million at Texas Tech reportedly, so
at least.
So there's a chunk of that that's going to go back to Cincinnati, whether it's $1 million or somewhat less than.
And
that.
I say at least because that was like the going rate last year. So imagine another year ahead, and he's like the top guy that they wanted. Cincinnati
and their quarterback played really bad in the playoffs, so he's got a little bit of. You kind of need me, don't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely he did. He also flirted with LSU and played the whole game. So, yeah, I'm sure the number kept going up. So I would be shocked if it wasn't at least $5 million. But I don't know. I would just assume that, maybe wrongly.
And no one on earth, if you're getting $5 million and have to send $1 million back, is going to go, except for Brendan Sorsby, and that's what he doesn't want to send back.
That's a bunch of money.
Well, Cincinnati says that it's proud to partner with the student athletes and honors the contractual commitments it makes to them. They expect the student athletes and their reps to do the same. In his lucrative NIL agreement with Cincinnati, Brendan Sorsby committed to stay and play for 2 seasons as a proud Bearcat representative. He also agreed that if he left the university before that time, he would pay a specific amount for the substantial harm that his breach would cause, and they intend to enforce that contractual commitment. As stewards of the university's resources, they have a duty to do so, and they thank Brendan at the very end. We thank Brendan for his time at Cincinnati and wish him success in the future. They actually say that at the very end after saying all that prior and then going, yeah, we're suing him, but good luck to him in the future.
How about this? If you have a player, and I don't have the details, although you guys gave a lot of it, Craig read a bunch of it. So if you're a player and you break the deal and you go sign somewhere else and there is you have to then, whatever the buyout is or a contract, obligation, then you should also, should you not, pay for however much it took Cincinnati to replace him with bringing somebody else on board. I'm just using that as an example.
I think that's just the percentage of the revenue share they had.
Okay.
So that's why Cincinnati's suing him. They only paid him $1 million out of their revenue share. Somebody else could have paid him more, so they're only entitled to $1 million.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, how this is looked at in the court if they ever get to that point. Obviously a lot of these things can get settled, and wouldn't surprise me if it becomes enough of a headache that you try to maybe find a different route to just move on with your life if you're Brendan Sorsby. Maybe you pay back $500,000, or maybe you just take this thing and you say, I'm not paying anything, and eventually it winds its way to where you don't. I don't know. But, yeah, Cincinnati is at least trying to recoup some of their money, and said he's on a 2-year deal, but what do these contracts actually mean? The only one I've seen that's actually been enforced is Damon Williams. Everything else seems like it's written on a napkin, and a wet napkin at that. So maybe there's some other examples of where there's been enforcement, but Damon Williams is the only one where not only was there enforcement, not only was it quick, but then it just went away. It just completely went away after being a big deal for 18 hours, and then it was this is going away because there is no but or period, dot to this story. It's no, you're not screwing with this clause. So I don't know what they put in their contract, but I don't know how everybody has
needs to get a copy of it. Yeah,
I don't know how you're not paying some sort of fee to copy their template for Damon Williams.
Remember who took his? Remember, it was Heitner, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
one of the two.
No, it was Heitner got involved, and he very quickly he was on the case for 2 hours and was releasing a statement going, "We've come to a mutual agreement." And Damon, so even he was not buzzing around, trying to, pick at whatever he could pick at. There was nothing to pick at because it was literally 2 hours, and he was already saying, "All right, we're good. It's done here."
It's funny to me how Washington has decided to let all this other chaos happen around. And people, I'm sure, are calling hey, can you send that to us? And I'm sure they're no, it's proprietary. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have a problem that literally everyone else has, then it's a pretty big deal.
By the way, there was one other college football note. And Brandon, let me know when you get – I just sent you a text in the group text. The FBS Oversight Committee has recommended stiff penalties for schools who circumvent transfer portal windows by adding players, a.k.a. players who unenroll at one school to join another outside of the portal period. For example, let's say you unenroll in early December, and you're enrolled in another school outside of the portal window. Now, again, this all has to be approved. And again, we even discussed this, Paul. You weren't here yesterday about the NCAA saying they're going to crack down. No, well, okay. The head coach would be prohibited if, in fact, they get dinged from all football recruiting and on-field coaching and administrative duties, team meetings through the 6th game of the next season.
Well, this is to prevent, there's a big theory going around that once spring football is over, there's going to be a wave of guys who unenroll.
Yep.
And then go enroll somewhere else.
The school would be fined up to 20% of their football budget. And then one more thing, the school will be required to reduce the number of roster spots by 5 for the next season, regardless of the head coach's employment status at the school.
Yeah.
I'll see it when I believe it. Right?
I don't know
that's
going to work.
I mean, it sounds good, but this is like what I said yesterday, and Kalani was talking about this as well. I remember reading his text. Yeah, I mean, it all sounds good, guys, but it never amounts to anything. It's always sued out of being relevant or dismissed entirely before it even gets a chance to become something actually. I don't know how many more Ross Dellinger articles with, like, here's this great idea that'll probably never happen. I can stand to read at this point. And I like reading him because he does a great job with it and laying it all out and explaining it all. It's just that now we've had, for as many things as and it's not just him, obviously, but he's the one that I kind of go to. He's had a lot of articles that do have substance that follow through and they matter in the long run. But it just seems like all of the ones that have to do with any kind of litigation or rules or whatever, it's always like there's this thought, there's this hope, there's this chatter and this dream.
What is
and
that
then
word that uses, that comment that he uses? Go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry. But I'm talking about Dellinger.
I don't know. It could be anything. You're not really narrowing it down
at
all.
Yeah, no, I am. You guys know exactly what it's like.
No idea.
That thought or comment he has, I don't know.
Damn it! I can't. That's like efforting.
Actually, damn it was more of where I was, because that's what I thought was. Damn it, was he talking about?
Well, what I was saying was just that. Yeah, I mean, the article sounds good, just like a bunch of the other ones about how they would love to do this or love to do that would be great. Yeah, it sounds great. It's much like when people fantasy book college football, and it's awesome. It's awesome when people go, let's move up the season, let's play a national title at the Rose Bowl on January 1st, let's surround it with this set of playoffs, and let's do this and do that, and it all sounds great, and then you go, okay, how do we go about doing this? And you're like, oh, well, there's no way we could actually do this like that. Well, damn. It's like I want to be commissioner of college football. I said this yesterday, Paul. I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but there's a lot of people that love to be the commissioner of college football that are outright like politicking for it. There's a lot of people that would right now put Nick Saban's or Mac Brown's asses in that seat and just say, go for it. The problem that nobody ever says, though, is like whether it's Nick Saban or Mac Brown or some media guy or an ex-president or Condoleezza Rice like on the playoff committee or whatever, it's just a figurehead position. There's nothing they can actually do. Like, even if you're named the commissioner, you can't mandate that, like, all right, this is over and that's over and this is over. It's like, no, the TV network's going to tell you when the national championship game is played, and ESPN's going to tell you when the conference season starts, and the lawyers are going to tell you how the money's going to go. And, you know, so it's like...
Until this is all contracted out and everybody agrees to it,
right.
Every school is going to have to agree, and every conference commissioner who now has that power as essentially being a commissioner is going to have to agree to let this commissioner make those decisions.
Right.
And unless they do that, it's a figurehead position.
Right.
I also believe this, and this might apply to like any like important position in anything. I think like if you're president of the United States or the commissioner of college football, it should be someone who doesn't relatively necessarily want that job. Like I always thought Colin Powell would have been a really good president.
Thing?
Yeah, it's like, we really need you to do this. Will you do it? You're the best person for this job. It's like, all right, damn
Not
it.
somebody who's been politicking.
Not somebody who's like, I should be the commissioner of college football.
Look at me. I'm the commissioner.
I've got it. It should be someone who they like, you know, like in Rambo 2, where they went to go get him and he was like calmly serene in a village. And like, you're the only one who can do this. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And then eventually he has to do it because he's the only one.
Right. I think it's a great idea. I think there's a lot of great ideas out there. I enjoy a lot of what I've read, and there are some really awesome concepts for how college football could be the greatest sport in America. I really do. Like, if it was allowed to be as good as it can be, then I think it wouldn't like touch the NFL because I don't think anything's ever going to truly touch the NFL. But dude, it could very clear, and it's arguably already number 2, but it could very clearly be even a clear number 2 if it's already number 2 to you. Because I think the regular season matters so much more than the NBA. Like even now with all of the chaos, it's so much more impactful than the NBA. It's not even an argument. But there are ways that it could be better, and it's a shame because there's a lot of people that do have great ideas, and it could be just so cool. But these pesky laws and these pesky, things prevent anybody from just going, all right, this is the season and this is how it's going and that's going to be – there's nobody that has that power or stroke to be able to do that. So, yeah, right now it's a nice thought, but whether it's Mac Brown or Kirk Herbstreit or whoever, they don't really have any control over anything. So it's just more of a fun thought. And hopefully one day it will reach a point where they figure out the government part of this enough to where there can be a guy that meets with the commissioners or whatever, and they get in a room and they tell ESPN, like, no, we're playing the damn national championship game on January 1st, and we're starting the playoff here, and we're doing this and we're doing that. But that's probably just me now, fantasy casting, and never.
You guys keep talking.
Happen.
I'm trying to find that word. Go ahead.
We were. We already were.
I heard you.
I actually think that if you have the right leadership in place overall, that you can go to the TV networks and say, hey, look, this is what we have to construct to make this better, and now you go and sell it, and you go do your thing. And I don't think it'll be that much of a problem. But while you don't have it, the TV networks are going to, like, all right, well, if you're just going to let us tell you what to do, then we're going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't even blame ESPN and Fox and all this for deciding to put it in, especially, I mean, I blame them. I don't blame them for taking advantage of the situation when no one stopped them.
Yeah, we got to go here, but I am going to blame them for taking advantage of it.
I mean, look, there's no honor among thieves here.
No, there's not,
so
but I don't want to just let that pass either.
No, we shouldn't let it pass, but, like, what did you expect was going to happen when you were like, please give us money, and then they're like, okay, well, these are the conditions. Well, we don't like that. So
yeah, I mean, greedy is going to be greedy no matter what. But yeah, it would be nice if there was some common sense just for the greater good. But that's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Indiana football. Put it up, Brandon. Then we break and come back with Matt Tate. Indiana football. This is from Tricia Whitaker. She is an Indiana grad. They put out notes that season tickets were available, and then. What date was that? Season tickets on sale, and then almost immediately, 2026 IU football season tickets are currently sold out. Who would have ever thought? Indiana Hoosiers, national champions, Cincinnati, all that power, good for them. Good for them. Matt Tate on KU in the Big 12 in basketball from Wave the Wheat. He's next. This is 365 Sports. Ideal, MRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. Dr. Rob Maxey is partners with a business that helps you if you have any kind of pain, or if your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, or family doctor, there's maybe even someone who's a physical fitness, or someone who is just a masseuse, but you have a pain and they say, we need to get a look at this because it could be a muscle or a ligament. Something is hurting more than it's just sore or bruised. Ideal MRI with a state-of-the-art imaging machine, and only $497 or less every single time inside the Central Texas marketplace. I have been there. I've been there because they're one of our sponsors, and I've said hi to the people who work there. And then I've also been there as a patient when my doctor asked, hey, we need a better look at this, this, or this. And every time they give me a disc when I'm walking out the door, it goes in the portal to the doctor, your doctor, my doctor, whoever it might be, and they get evidence of what else they should do, or maybe look at a different way because it's not quite what they thought. Maybe not as bad, or maybe it's worse. IdealMRI.com.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
By the way, thanks to Retired Stockbroker for a $2 super chat. And Brandon, he said he's sitting there with the link. Not sure if you see him or not, but he said he's on it. He just... Okay. All right. This is when I have to do this camera on. Okay. All right. I just sent him a text. Let's see what happens. Hey, some of you are telling me with text messages to me or more that you are typing in the chat room, but you're not seeing anything or anything else anyone else is typing. So we'll see what's going on there. Matt Tate now joins us.
That would be just for everybody, that would be a YouTube issue.
Okay.
We cannot
Wave
control
the wheat.
that.
Matt Tate joins us on 365 Sports. And Matt, thank you for your time. Let's start with KU. What a great win. What a great situation. It's 40-0 at home on Big Mondays, Allen Fieldhouse, and all that. But just how that team played, and can they do that the rest of the way?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. There's no doubt about it. I think they can. You know, they have wins over number 1 Arizona at home, number 2 Iowa State at home, and now number 5 Houston at home. That alone tells you that they could beat anybody any night. It also tells you that they'd probably win a national title if it was played at Allen Fieldhouse. So that's the tricky part, right? They've got to figure out how to take this show on the road, be consistent with it, and obviously continue to find a way to play tough teams the rest of the way, not only in the Big 12 and in the Big 12 tournament, but obviously moving forward from there. So I think the pieces are in place. I think they're talented enough to do it. The biggest concern that jumps out to me is their depth. But so far this season, that hasn't been a major issue. And Coach Self loves to talk about how, you know, those timeouts are longer in the tournament, and he's only playing 7 guys anyway, so the depth issue would have to be more of a foul trouble thing or possibly an injury thing instead of just fatigue. These guys have been used to playing a 7.5 man rotation really for the last 2 months, if not longer. So, this team's a fun team to watch. They're talented. They've got a lot of pieces that you like, and it does seem like over the last 3 weeks or so, they've started to put it together. They had the hiccup on Saturday of last week against Cincinnati at home, and that one looks bad, and Cincinnati's not bad, but it was not a good loss. But you chalk it up to they had won 8 in a row before that, and sometimes those things happen. So I think the next couple of weeks to finish the Big 12 race here, I think it'll tell us exactly where they are heading into March. And, if they could reel off 3 or 4 wins from here to the postseason and start to show that they're a little more consistent than they've been all year, then I think Kansas is going to be a really popular team when people look at their brackets and, want to avoid the 1s and the 2s, and they look down and they see Kansas as a 3 or maybe a 2, but probably a 3. They may be a pretty sexy pick in people's brackets.
Matt, I was at the game on Monday night, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. As always, I'm now 2-0 in Allen Fieldhouse for Kansas. But I noticed something about the game that I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me, but I thought the way that Bill Self used the rotation with Darren Peterson kind of in and out, it looked like he's trying to push him past whatever this fear of cramping is that's kind of in his head. It appears that if they can rotate through like they did the other night, and when guys go cold or guys need a break, I think they'll be fine on the rotations. I think that, and they don't have to rely on Darren Peterson to look like the number 1 overall pick every single night.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, that's something that I want to dive into more in an upcoming article because, there's so much attention on him, so much talk about him dating back to last year. I mean, there were press conferences mid-season last year where Bill would stop things and or at the end he would say no questions about Darren. After he signed, he loved talking about the guy and he couldn't wait to coach him. And so it's been an up and down year in that regard. But I think that the attention that has been put on him and him being the center of all this talk about what's going on, is he or won't he or will he or is he on or is he off or can he or can't he, all those things, right? I mean, it's put the attention on him that you'd expect there to be on a player like that, a talent like that, but also the potential, the number 1 pick angle, all of that stuff. But Kansas needs him to be at their best, but they don't need him to be a 50 points a night game. They don't need him to be Trae Young of Oklahoma, and that's been my best analogy, I think, of the year, maybe in a long time, because Darren's undoubtedly the most talented player on this roster. I don't think anybody would argue with that. But he's not their MVP and he's not their most important player. I think that belongs to Melvin Council as the MVP and Trey White as their most important player. And those two guys have been phenomenal all year. They've been a huge part of the reason that Kansas has weathered this whole Darren Peterson experience. And so now that the rest of the pieces are kind of comfortable in what they are and what their roles are and what they need to do, he just has to go be part of it. He doesn't have to take over games. He doesn't have to force things that aren't there. Sometimes just him being on the floor is a very, very valuable thing for the rest of the guys because he does attract so much attention and there is so much focus on stopping him and getting the ball out of his hands that it opens up things for other guys. So, yeah, he's got a chance to be the number 1 pick. Yeah, he's a generational talent. Yeah, there's a lot to like about him, but he doesn't have to be that for this team to make a run. He just has to be solid, and he has to be out there.
Matt, I always like to just kind of look at the big picture and kind of look at the league itself. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, just got done playing a number 5 Houston team, about to play number 2 Arizona for the second time in the last month. Played BYU. You've seen Cincinnati here recently. Arizona State coming up, although they're kind of in the background. But Texas and Oklahoma were awesome to have in the league. But I feel like this year, in this last month especially, there's been just so many matchups that have been incredibly intriguing. What have you thought about just how the league's evolved and just how some of these new brands have kind of maybe spiced things up and freshened things up a little bit? What have you seen from your standpoint? And Kansas fans interested in going and playing the Arizonas and the BYUs of the world?
Yeah, no, it's great because it's funny you bring it up because I was actually watching that game, Arizona and Baylor, last night, and it was striking to me that I was already, or I am already, comfortable considering Arizona a Big 12 team. Like, it didn't even occur to me that they haven't been in this conference for a long, long time. And that's because this conference is where the best basketball teams play, and one of the best basketball teams in the country this year is Arizona, and so they just belong, right? But you nailed it, man. I don't know that Kansas fans feel this way. I don't know that they love that anybody can beat anybody on any night. I think there is at least a decent chunk of the fan base that really longs for those days of Colorado and Nebraska, and knowing you can just pound a couple of teams and you're going to get them twice and all of that. I think they do miss that to some degree because they loved being kings of the hill. But how can you argue with Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, Arizona, Kansas, Iowa State, Kansas, Houston, Kansas, Arizona, BYU, Arizona? I mean, how could you argue with any of those games? You don't even have to know what month it is. You don't even have to know what day of the week it is. Odds are there's going to be a damn good Big 12 basketball game on, and it's impossible to not love that. I mean, whether you're rooting for one of the teams or you just like good basketball, it's been so much fun, and I think you nailed it. I mean, I think these teams are settled and comfortable, and they belong in this conference, and certainly Houston has proven that over and over already, and Arizona's right there too, and BYU's right there too. So amazing stuff, and that's we're talking about the top of the top right there, but the top's pretty deep, right? That what do we name 6 teams right there?
Yep.
You're still talking about. I didn't even mention Texas Tech, who Toppin got hurt, and that sucks for everybody. But before that, they were a Final Four contender, no question about it. Baylor's had a down year, as everyone knows, but still Baylor, it's still Scott Drew, and they're still capable of getting it turned around quickly and also beating anybody, as they showed last night, and taking Arizona to the wire. So that's half the league right there. And Texas Tech was in a title game. Baylor won a title. Those are teams we didn't talk about just now, right? And so I think the league's as good as it's ever been. I think it's funny to watch these coaches say how much they hate it because they love it. Mm-hmm. And it's just really hard. And I think more than ever at Kansas, especially when they had that streak and they were going for 12, 13, 14 Big 12 conference titles in a row, right? That was all that mattered. I mean, yeah, they wanted to win a national title, but so much focus was put on keeping the streak alive. And now that they haven't won it for a little while, and now that streak's dead, I think Kansas is like everybody else. It's like, let's use January and February to get as dialed in and become as good as we can, and then we'll take our chances and we'll roll the dice in March and see what happens. But there's nowhere to be better prepared for March than the Big 12 conference. I mean, the runs, look at Houston, right? The three losses in a row were at Iowa State, Arizona at home, and at Kansas. I mean, they're not going to see anything close to that difficult in the big tournament. So I love that it prepares all these teams. And guys, there'd be nothing better than for the 2026 Final Four to have 4 Big 12 teams. Yeah. And I think it's possible. I think it'd be the coolest thing in the world, but I don't think it's a stretch at all.
And then you have UCF go to Provo. Like UCF has raised their game because of a couple other teams that are down, like you mentioned. And this week, I call them bangers in football, but KU at Arizona, Texas Tech at Iowa State, it just never ends, as you said.
Right. A lot of fun. I mean, it is. It's a lot of fun. And, KU's fared well in a lot of those games, but, they smacked Iowa State here by 20, and then they went up to Ames and got the favor return. So that's what's going to be really interesting about Saturday. I mean, that win over Arizona in the Fieldhouse a couple of Mondays ago was, and I wrote this on our site, it was as good a game as I've ever seen. I think it's the best game that's ever been played in there from all things considered. The stakes, the teams, the vibe, the way the game unfolded. Obviously for the home team, a win. I think it was just unbelievable. And I've been doing this 20, 25 years, so really, really big time game. But now, as we said, the reward is Kansas has to go to Arizona this weekend. And Arizona's going to be thinking about that game. And Kansas was without Darren Peterson when they beat him. And so that's, something that has to be taken into account. But Arizona's got a couple of injuries right now. And I don't know if those guys are going to go on Saturday or not. But, let's hope everybody's healthy when the bracket comes out, because not only could they have 4 Final Four teams in this conference, they could have 6 of the Elite 8 if the bracket fell right. I mean, this conference is so good. It's unbelievable.
Last question. You've got to go. I know you got to go, Matt. Paul?
Do you think that Darren Peterson and his dad and Bill this week talking about it helped maybe change the narrative around him a little bit?
I hope so. I'll be honest with you. I think he was getting killed unfairly. I really do. I think that, I don't pretend to know him real well. I've been around him a little bit. I've liked everything about him. saw his mom after a game and went out of my way to tell her, you've got a really good kid there. He's a good young man. He's mature. He's humble. I've got all this gray hair, and I've covered a lot of the one and dones, if not all of them, that have come through Kansas, and they weren't all like that. So, I think Darren's a really good dude, and I think in some ways that works against him. I mean, people love flash and flair and sunglasses inside and as much jewelry as you can and an entourage and all that stuff, and that's just not him. So I think he got killed unfairly from coast to coast by a lot of the national talking heads, and I don't love that for him, and I don't love that for the industry, because you can't tell a story by watching a 30-second clip. You can't tell a story by looking at a picture. You got to be around. You got to know what's going on. But I get why they did it, and they got their desired results too. People were talking about them. People were talking about what they said. That's part of the business too. I understand. So I do hope that him coming out and speaking on it a little bit helped. But what really struck me about him talking the other night after that game was people want him to talk more. People want to hear his side of the story. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to tell you much, because he's just not wired to be the guy that sits up there and talks about himself. He wants to play basketball. He wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants to be with his teammates. And, for whatever reason, whether it's injuries or mental or a combination of the two, he hasn't been able to do that as much as anyone would have liked this year. And so it has been frustrating for him. And I think for the most part, he's handled it incredibly well, especially for a 19-year-old kid. I think he's let a lot of the water run off his back and just kind of rolled with it and said, well, I know my truth. This is the position I'm in, and I'm just going to let it roll. I don't need to worry about what other people are saying. I'm just going to be me. And I think that people want a reaction. People want fire. People want to see him, sort of do that FU thing and watch this and watch me and I'll show you. And again, it would be out of character for him. He's just not wired that way. And he just has really done a great job, especially in a tough situation, I think, of staying true to himself and who he is. And the biggest thing that I can say about it is everybody wants to call it a big problem and a big frustration and a big, concern and all of this. But I haven't seen one bit of this bothering his teammates. They love him and he loves them. And, they're 21-7 and they're a borderline top 10 team, and they're still in the Big 12 race in one of the toughest years in the history of the Big 12. I mean, it's hard to say that this isn't working, whatever it is. It may not be, as clean and sexy as people like it to be, but I think inside that building, inside that locker room, they're fine with it. And I think the hope from the inside is that, the best is still ahead. And it certainly could be, because if he can just stay healthy and stay out there, he's capable of leading them on a heck of a run. And as I said earlier, the rest of these guys are ready for that too. So it'll be interesting to see. But it's been, again, you guys know how long I've been doing this. It's been wild beyond imagine. I mean, I've never covered or seen anything like this. It's been such an interesting thing to follow. And this team's a lot of fun. But obviously the Peterson stuff's been really, really interesting, because it's just one of those deals. You wake up and you just, every game, every day, every press conference, every practice, whatever it is, you have no idea what's going to happen. He could be ready to go and he could go get 40, or he could not play against the number one team in the country on Big Monday, and nobody knows until 10 minutes before tip-off. It's just been a wild ride, and something tells me it's not even close to over yet.
Thank you, Matt. Good stuff. Glad to see you. Good to have you back on the show. Matt Tate waved the wheat on many things KU basketball, and Darren Peterson also a part of that too.
Yeah, I bet it's been a grind on the KU beat this year. I mean, good and bad, but just the good, the big wins, and the fact that there's always something, but also the Darren Peterson questions and just the ongoing nature of that whole thing's also got to be incredibly tiring and frustrating. You can only imagine for Bill Self how it must be.
Yeah, I and of course being there this week, and then I took the tour of the football facility, which, guys, holy Lord, what they've done there. But like, you get to kind of talk to people around the program a little bit, and you kind of, which is, hey, like, is it really this bad? Or is they annoyed? He's like, no, the team loves him. So if he was asking out of games, you wouldn't see the team still backing him. Now, I do think that everybody is, including Darren Peterson and his family, are annoyed with the cramping situation, but I do think it's something he's in his head about. And that is something, I don't know if you saw during the game the other night, he hit a three, he turned to Bill, and Bill was like, go!
Yeah,
go!
We brought that up.
That's
like,
when
just stay in. And he came out pretty quickly.
That's when you give legs to the whole discussion, though. When you sit
Yeah.
there, no, there's nothing to this, there's nothing to this, and then the moment you're like, you do this like every game.
So one of the things I heard was that somebody said that, man, I sat behind 3 rows behind the bench a couple games ago, and he's really working DP, and he must really not like him. It's like, no, he coaches everybody hard until they kind of get in the flow, and then it's kind of different for everyone. But he's coaching him like it's December, because essentially it is December for Darren Peterson right now, because he's missed so much time. So he's getting to coach him a little bit harder. And I think the last couple of weeks you've seen him kind of forcing him into facing that physical adversity. And I think the other thing he wanted the other night was when Darren Peterson hit that 3, it was a very large lead at that point, and he thought, like, this is the time. He's like, no, I want you to kind of play through this. And he went in and came out a couple more times, but he didn't want the whole, like, rigmarole again.
Said to him in an article, there was a great article by Myron Metcalf, I think it was, that he goes, hey, I haven't even had really a good chance to coach you yet. Have I really had a chance to coach you hard yet? And so they move on after the huge win.
I hate that I bring him up because I am tired of it, and I'm not even like at all into it. Like as far as the daily discussion of it and watching the message boards and seeing what everybody I mean, I'm doing some of that obviously just to do my job of kind of having a feel for it, but I get tired from it, much less a KU fan who's like absorbed with Kansas basketball, and it's a shame that the spotlight is almost solely focused on that, but Matt did provide a spotlight on some other guys and that are deserving and if not more deserving of more of the talk, and I'm glad that he's able to do that. There is one note before we go I think is important to mention. It happened officially like right before our show, but it's notable, and that is the fact that we're almost to the end of February, and Colorado now has suddenly a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The news coming out earlier today, the pregame show with Uncle Neely breaking the news that Robert Livingston, CU defensive coordinator, is taking a job with the Broncos. And so they had hired Chris Marv previously. And I think there was some thought that he might be the replacement guy if the time came for Livingston to move on. And so that time has come. And now Chris Marv, who just joined the staff this offseason, is going to be the new defensive coordinator for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. He was previously with Virginia Tech as their DC and inside linebackers coach for a couple of years. Now you're going to see a new defensive coordinator in Colorado. 3-9 last year. I don't know if y'all saw did you see the big to-do about the quarterback selections at Colorado, where they were doing a draft for like teams?
Mm-mm.
And the freshman quarterback got taken number 1 overall, not Julian Lewis. And Julian Lewis got picked 2nd overall, so it created this whole thing about, like, well, who's this kid? And, like, what is this about? And I don't know. I'm sure there's far more to it that I just didn't delve further into, but it was just something that was kind of eyebrow-raising of, like, wait a second, Julian Lewis wasn't the number 1 overall pick of the team draft for spring ball or whatever. So, that was interesting, but – man, 3-9 a year ago, Keneal Sweetwine. I couldn't remember his name. Keneal Sweetwine. Maybe we need to learn it because maybe he's the next big thing in Boulder, Colorado. But it's a cool name, Keneal Sweetwine. He was the first overall pick in their spring practice draft by the players. Now they got a new DC. I don't know what to think about them next year. I really don't.
Deion needs consistency. He needs assistants that are college football ready. I don't think that some of those off schemes were necessarily college football ready, that he was trying to maybe put some things in that just didn't fit what they needed to do. And they just need consistency overall. I mean, Deion not being there the entire offseason last year, I don't know if that means that they're 6-6 instead of 3-9, but I don't think it helped.
Yeah, and I think this would have hurt a lot more like last offseason because they had a really good year. Coming off this offseason, it's like, yeah, it's still changed, but I don't think it's as grave when it was like you were just 3-9. So, like, is anybody not replaceable other than Deion? But it had happened after 2024. Then you'd have been like, oh, damn, he just, like, made the defense a lot better. So we'll see. But, yeah, that quarterback situation, I mean, that's very much like juicy offseason type of thing. And maybe he just had like a really good friend that was the captain of making the pick for that team, but maybe not. Maybe Keneal Sweetwine's the guy that we start talking about a little bit more. We'll see, because spring ball's here. So for as much as it doesn't maybe pack the punch it used to, there are still going to be some interesting storylines and some quarterback battles, and it sounds like there could be an interesting one potentially in Boulder, Colorado.
Here's one of the quotes from safety Ben Finesis from Colorado. So y'all took Keneal first, Sweetwine, to the opposing team, and the thing I know about Julian Lewis is he's got fire in him, right? And it's going to blank him off. Julian is going to bring that fire, which is part of what Dion said. He wanted to bring some good competition to the roster. Yeah,
Dion might have told them to pick Keneal Sweetwine number 1 just to create the situation. And you know what? If he did that, that's actually probably kind of brilliant, honestly, because what does it hurt? I mean, Julian Lewis hasn't done anything to just have this cemented that he's like the guy no matter what. So, if it creates more of a competition and pushes both those guys, and it was by design especially, then I think that's actually kind of brilliant. But it was interesting to see that, and we'll see. Obviously, as the weeks ahead, there's going to be a lot of spring football talk with various programs.
We keep count of everything. So a lot of guys you pick ain't got nothing to do with us coaches. That's on y'all. Y'all picked them, and y'all are teammates. And you don't blame the coach. Don't blame nothing else but yourselves. You pick the team. Take ownership of it.
I was giving too much credit to Dion for having the thought of like, hey, let me create this situation. I mean, either way, I just think it's of interest.
I think it's great. It's a cute little story.
Either way.
All right. By the way, USC replaced that game with Notre Dame with San Jose State.
That's the same.
Non-conference.
Oh, and now it's sold out.
When we come back, we'll have, are you doing the top 5?
Now that we have some of the things, the top 5 will return soon, but guess what comes back today?
The wheel.
The wheel's
We
back
have
today.
the quizzes, the polls, and the wheel, and that's Andrew Valet doing his magic. That's next. It's 365 Sports.
Smartphones?
Yes.
Yeah, car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
Okay, here we go.
Uh-oh, it's back.
The wheel is spinning, and it's digital now.
Okay, this is computer generated?
Yes. When you think of the best athlete haircut, who's the first player you think of?
Well, I don't know if it's the best athlete haircut, but I think of Brian Bosworth because you said haircut, and the first person that popped into my head was Brian Bosworth's. I don't even know what you would call it.
It was a mohawk, wasn't it?
No, it was not a mohawk.
A Mr. T?
It was kind of somewhere.
It was not a mohawk. It was. I don't know what the proper terms for it were, but yeah, he had a very interesting haircut, as obviously anybody of age can remember, and so that's just the name that popped into my head.
You know what? It was kind of it had
a mohawk's like a strip down the middle. He didn't
have
that.
It had it had a little bit of mohawk in it, like. It's a mutt haircut between a mohawk, a mullet, and then he also had lines shaved in his hair.
Yep.
The mohawk would have been like just the strip, but he had it was like a little bit wider, and then it was like he had zigzags and things and all sorts of stuff in there. So
yeah. Actually, you know what? That haircut is so unique, you could just call it the Boz.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Like nobody else had that haircut. Smokey, do you have one that sticks out to you?
Yeah, that's hard to overcome, that one. I mean, not really. No. There's a lot of guys that have had the mullet before. Even Gundy had it as a head coach, but no particular player that I'm trying to think about Major League and some of the guys.
Yeah, I will say this. When on the other end of the spectrum, a guy who always looks good and has the best haircut, like when it comes to just looking good, is Rodney Harrison. He has the tightest fade in the game. And when we met him, Q and I met him at a Super Bowl a few years ago, and that's the first thing Q said to him was, who does your fade? Because it's the best. And he's like, you can't have him. He's my guy.
Wow.
But he does it. It's the best, tightest fade there is.
Rodney Harrison, I still need to figure out what happened to him on that random Sunday Night Football where his brain felt like it was short-circuiting, and it's like we just moved past that, and he was okay, but that was so bizarre. I still think of that now when I think of Rodney Harrison, because that's the last time I notably was watching him. I think it's now just faded back into, it's like, oh, he's just one of the people on TV or whatever, but yeah, that was so strange. What happened, I guess that was last year on Sunday Night Football. And I don't think we really got an explanation for him. I'm glad he's okay, because he could have said it's a health issue, and I would have been like, yeah, it looked like he was having something go on. But, good haircut, though. Good haircut.
By the way, did you see all the different categories on that wheel?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like the colors, the gray, black, kind of a silver, kind of like the colors of this helmet right here.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't even know. Okay, here we go. Trivia. I'll do boxing. February 25th, 1964, 22-year-old Cassius Clay pulled off what Joe Louis called the biggest upset in history. Which champion did he beat to defeat and win his first world championship?
You know this.
It's got to be Floyd. 22-year-old pulled off what Joe Louis called Floyd Patterson. The upset was against Liston.
Yeah,
Floyd Patterson was not an upset. He was a lighter weight heavyweight. It's got to be Liston. It's got to be Sonny Liston, no question.
It's Sonny Liston.
Yeah, then he had a rematch, and Liston stayed down and didn't want to get back up, and they thought it was a foul punch.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, because he didn't see it. Sonny Liston, without question. Yeah.
And if they were in this day and age, Sonny Liston would be fighting Kai Cenat on Netflix
Rocky
for
Marciano.
$50 million or something.
There it was, an 8-1 favorite. Liston twice demolished the previous champion in one round. Clay utilized his speed, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, until Liston, citing a shoulder injury, failed to answer the bell in the 7th round. 2 days later, Clay announced his name change to Muhammad Ali. Then they fought again, and he was out early, and some think that the Ali punch that knocked Liston out was not even a connection of a punch.
I have this poster in my office now, which is why I knew the answer to this question, because when I got it, I was like, oh, I love the old boxing posters or old movie posters, as you know, because I actually, not to knock any graphic designer now. You guys do things that I can never even imagine doing. But I just like the old style of where I mean, they didn't have a computer to do this. They had to do this all by hand. So
and
I kind of appreciate
we saw
that.
a dozen of them inside Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. That's kind of where it started for me.
Yep.
When you walk around Madison Square Garden, you're like, oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So, all right, what's the next one? The infamous 2012 butt fumble was the centerpiece of a historic meltdown, but how many touchdowns did the Jets allow in a span of just 52 seconds? I believe it's 3.
Was that Mark Sanchez?
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
He's
awaiting trial.
He's waiting trial. Yeah. I have no idea.
I think it's 3.
I don't remember exactly, but I'll go with 3. That's fine.
In 52 seconds?
I think so. I think that's why it's so strange.
Okay.
I think it's 3.
There you go.
Boom. Yes.
How in the hell?
Yeah. On Thanksgiving 2012, the Jets suffered a nightmare 52-second sequence, a 3-yard Mark Sanchez fumble, the butt fumble, returned for a TD, a fumbled kickoff returned for a TD, and a passing TD. This 21-point disaster led to a 35-3 second quarter collapse and a 49-19 loss to the Patriots.
And you just know at that point, somebody was saying, I'm sure this joke's been made somewhere. I haven't seen it, but I know that I can't be this original. And I know I can't be. But, yeah, the butt fumble's got to be the low point. It doesn't get any lower than this, Mark.
Yeah.
At least it'll never be worse than this. And it's like, yeah, just wait a few years, and it's going to get way, way worse. But, yeah, I mean, can you imagine, though, even – I don't know, I'm making light of a situation that was very serious, and he's going to get probably pretty severely punished for it. But that's his debt to have to pay. But that was so embarrassing. I had such secondhand embarrassment over the butt fumble for Mark Sanchez. I think everybody did. Like, that was just so ridiculous at the time and so goofy, and still doesn't make all that much sense of how he just ran like a yard into the back of somebody at that angle and fumbled and then had to run. Like, it was just like, what? That was just so crazy.
The second to last game of the regular season when he was the Cowboys' third-string quarterback, I was in the Cowboys locker room, and I was just talking to Terrence Williams. And I'd interviewed him, and I stopped to talk to him because we knew him from Baylor really well. And so I was talking to him, and Mark Sanchez had on an all-white, white-on-white suit leaving this game, which, by the way, was a 3:30 Sunday afternoon game. So a white-on-white suit seems a little bit weird for 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday or 7 p.m. on a Sunday when it was. And he, walked in, and I said, he's not going to because he walked in after I started talking to him. And I was like, he's not going to shower even with, warming up and stuff. He's like, Paul, he didn't even clip his shoulder pads in during the game. Yeah, he knew he wasn't going to play. He goes, I said, maybe I'm crazy. Does that normally happen? He goes, look, they know they're not going to play, but usually they clip their shoulder pads in. He just knew. Yeah. He didn't even clip them in.
Man. All right. So there we are with that. Now, the poll questions. Does bracketology influence how you fill out your March Madness bracket?
47% say it's a starting point. And 45% are like, no, I don't. I think Joe Lenardi doesn't know as much as I do. I'm going to follow my gut. And 4% either trust the pros or just pick all the upsets.
Well, pick all the upsets. That's guaranteed failure.
Yeah,
because there's not that many upsets. There's.
I always pick the wrong 2 or 3.
I mean, I guess unless you mean that you're. I don't know. I don't know because if you're literally picking all the upsets, well, you're gonna have a terrible bracket. But I'm kind of a mix of B and C. I guess you would say that would be B and C there. The second and third answers. Yeah. It's something I base off of to some degree because I don't know everything about every team. So somebody randomly out of the American or something that I'm seeing where they're but then typically you just follow your gut on that's how you end up picking a lot of the upsets, and I think the average Joe's sort of case, it's not really drilling down and studying this thing.
The biggest thing I have to do and of course Evan Miyakawa is where I should go, and I didn't do that. I should just look at Evan's stuff.
I was just saying yesterday, he's got so many numbers, and I'm fascinated by it. I'm also just kind of dumb when it comes to that stuff, but it's I wonder if you even have to watch the games. Or just the computer spits out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Because there's so much information.
He does. You're talking about him?
I know that he does, but I'm saying it doesn't even feel like he has to.
Because he has that kill shot stat that sometimes if he's watching a game, he'll mention it, and it goes into the computer.
I actually think that
a 10-0 run.
He
or
has
something.
like a helmet like Charles Xavier that he puts on that just kind of beams it into his head. I just have to remember, like, which guy do I respect the guy enough that picked this upset on Selection Sunday? That's like, oh, this team shoots, 48% behind the arc. This is a terrible matchup. And then it all blends together. And when I'm picking the bracket, I pick that one. And then I go back and remember, like, oh, no, I don't like that guy anyway.
Yeah.
He's never right.
I've gotten better at it because I don't overthink it anymore. I try to, I got to pick a 15 or there's always going to be, and I finally just take Jay Billis and steal his.
Yeah.
So there we are. Okay.
Just don't steal his opinions on college sports, please, because I don't agree with all of them.
Okay, this one here, I'm not a big band guy, but I do know every one of these names, and they're all phenomenal athletes when it comes to guitar players. In your opinion, who is the undisputed GOAT, greatest of all time of the guitar?
Eric Clapton. Oh, wait, no, I don't believe that either. I mean, I would say Jimmy, but I love Stevie Ray, man. I love Stevie Ray. Give me, if you gave me here's 5 songs, you go to a deserted island and you only get 5 songs to listen to ever again. One of them, I know would be like Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan, some version of that. That's one of those, man. There's so many people that you go like, what if? What could have been? But, dude, he was so young and so talented. Like, he could have been so much bigger than he was. And he was already getting to be pretty big. He was already sharing stages with Clapton and all the guitar gods and everything. But, man, I love Stevie Ray, but he's not, like, a bigger GOAT than Hendrix.
No, I think Hendrix is the GOAT. I'm a little surprised Jimmy Page was so far behind the other 2 guys here. Because I think he's certainly in that category, but I think it's Jimi Hendrix. I think there's some younger or newer guys that should be up here, like in the discussion a little bit.
John Mayer or something.
Yeah, well, he's fantastic, but
I wouldn't put him with these guys.
I wouldn't put him with these guys.
Technically, yes.
Technically,
but
yes,
but
influential. But influential.
Again, I forgot the name of the song, and it's a great song, and I love listening to it. Was Prince among those?
Look, Prince was one of the greatest all-around musicians of all time.
Yeah.
Prince, if Ray Charles could see, he probably would have wound up being Prince.
He's not a guitar god.
But he's just a good, all
That's
around,
what I'm saying. There's a YouTube video, and every once in a while I'll play it when I'm doing nothing or I'm trying to work at the desk, and I'll turn it on YouTube. It's an amazing song, the way he comes out for just a little solo appearance and then disappears.
And I'm sure there's some pushback, actually. I guess Prince could probably be considered that. I just don't think of him... Like, for somebody who doesn't seem to remember anything or see most of anything, that was actually a really good pull, was Prince. But, yeah, I think I actually am probably discrediting him too much that he would be considered that, but I just don't put him on that same pedestal as Stevie Ray or Jimmy or Clapton or Page Van Halen.
Look, and B.B. King,
B.B.
it's kind of everybody on this list, though, was, like, copying B.B. King.
Eddie Van Halen's also very, very... I mean, he's excellent and one of the best ever. I just didn't listen to a lot of Van Halen, so I don't have as much of an opinion on kind of him as the others.
Andrew, very nice. And the winner, Jimi Hendrix, had a big chunk of a lead that took it all out of Jimmy Page, making it almost all 4 equal.
Got more than our bracket question.
No, it did. Got 348 votes.
I need to clear something up here because I know it probably sounded strange now that I'm thinking about it, but I was on a Stevie kick not too long ago, and so I was just thinking about, like, God, of course, Jimi Hendrix is another massive what if had he lived. I wasn't trying to. He was even younger, I believe, than Stevie was because he was 27 Club. But yeah, obviously Hendrix, like, what could have been if he had lived another 30 years and had been in and out with like the Beatles and crossing over with Clapton and Stevie Ray ultimately by the 80s. Like, we were so robbed by Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan not sticking around for very long, man. Both those guys just. God, we missed out on so much.
Brandon, thank you very much. Garrett Ross, thank you very much. And also to Andrew Valade, we appreciate our sponsors and also those of you watching us in the various ways that you do. Back again tomorrow. We'll be on the air at 3. Zach Gelb and his show at 1. And then also at 9 o'clock in the morning, John Morris' show will also be a part of 365 Sports. For Paul and Craig, I'm David Smoak. Good night.